Namaste and greetings. Ria Rawat, researcher at IMPRI, Impact and Policy Research Institute, Prabhav एवं नीति अनुसंधान संस्थान नई दिल्ली, extend my warmest welcome to you all at IMPRI Web Policy Learning. Today marks the 7th day of Young Women Leaders in Public Policy Fellowship, Cohort 2.0, with the theme Getting Foothold in Politics, Governance and Gainful Employment Agenda Lens. This is an online national winter school program, a 4-month online immersive introductory leadership certificate training fellowship program spanning from January to April 2025. This program is organized by IMPRI, Gender Impact Studies Center. The chair for this program is Professor Vibhuti Patel ji, visiting distinguished professor at IMPRI and a renowned advocate for gender equality and women's empowerment, while the co-chair is Professor M. Indira ji, former professor of economics at the Department of Studies in Economics and Cooperation, University of Mysore. Today we will explore the crucial theme of work participation of women, a sectoral profile. The discussion will examine women's engagement across various sectors, analyzing their contributions, challenges, and the structural barriers that impact their workforce participation. It will also highlight policy measures and strategies to promote greater gender inclusivity and equitable opportunities in different industries. We are privileged to have esteemed experts guiding today's session. Professor Samapti Guha ji, Professor Center for Social Entrepreneurship, School of Management and Labor Studies, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai, and Professor N. Manimekalai, Director and Head Department of Women's Studies, Bharati Dasan University, Tiruchirappalli, and Professor Vibhuti Patel ji and Professor M. Indira ji guiding today's session. The panel of convener for this program comprises Dr. Simi Mehta ji, Dr. Arjun Kumar ji, Professor Gumati Sridevi ji, and Advocate Dr. Shalu Nigam ji. Before we begin, here are a few housekeeping announcements. Please join the meeting on time. There will be a Q&A session after each presentation. Share your questions on the Q&A box. The questions must not be posted as an anonymous attendee. Ensure that your questions are precise and please refrain from making general comments in the questions to save time. Now, without further ado, let us start our program. I would now like to invite our chair, Professor Vibhuti Patel ji, to deliver the opening remarks. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Ria Rawat, for introducing the objectives, goals, and the mission of this course. Today, as you said, we are on the 7th day. And first of all, I would like to begin with heartfelt thanks to Dr. Arjun Kumar, Dr. Simi Mehta, Dr. Kumari Sridevi, and Dr. Shalu Nigam for convening this course, and also coordinators of a team work which is done by Ms. Priyanka Negi, Dr. Vaishali Singh, Mr. Satyam Tripathi, Reet Lat, Ritvika Malik, M. Shweta, and Ashtaba Jadeja and Bhaktiba Jadeja. I welcome Professor Samapti Guha and Professor Manimekalai. A brief overview of what all has transpired so far. On day first, like we had opening remarks and we explained the whole interconnections of these three themes for getting foothold in politics, governance, and world of work. And after that, we had a keynote address by Comrade Ani Raja, who gave a very vivid history of women's role in the political realm and also in the electoral politics. She gave a historical view of 3 decades of women's reservation bill, right from 1992, which resulted in a unanimous acceptance of Nari Shakti Vandan Abhiyan in September 2023. And it took 128 amendments over last 30 years, after which we got it and it will be implemented by 2029. She also told about the hurdles faced by women in Panchayati Raj institutions. Though they have done a heroic role, their work is not even treated by politicians as the political work. They call it social work. Another thing that she came up, she enlightened us, was about the way even when the state is employer, it doesn't respect the labor standards, and she gave the role which the women's movement has played in highlighting the issues of women in the economy, and how the ASHA workers, Anganwadi workers, even the PRIs, which did a commendable work during COVID-19 pandemic, their work is not recognized, and ASHA and Anganwadi workers are not even given the minimum wages of the which is stipulated by the state. On day 2, we had Professor Vidyut Mohanty, who spoke on the bursting the bubble of traditional leadership and women's leadership in grassroots politics of India. The Dr. Vidyut Mohanty has spent nearly 50 years of working with the elected representatives in the urban and local self-government bodies. She gave so many examples of very, very successful governance which these women have done in different parts of India. She also explained the whole collective effort and the women's charter which these elected representatives had put forward, giving their 12-point, their 20-point program of achieving women's empowerment within the Panchayati Raj institutions. And she also explained both the hurdles and the disabling environment, money power, muscle power, misogyny, and mafia power, which these women have to face. She also told us some of the painful stories of how women were killed, and the weapon of Sarpanch Pati, or the no confidence vote being used against women elected representatives when they try to execute development agenda. On day 3, we had Professor Chaitra Redkar, who talked about the regional dynamics and women's political leadership, with a special focus at the detailed case history of Maharashtra, which is supposed to be a progressive state, and still we see such a abysmal participation of women in legislative assembly and in the parliament, though 50% participation we have in the Panchayati Raj institution, and this is the state which has over a dozen all women panchayats. So even in the open seats, the villagers and the community has chosen women because of the work that they have done in terms of area development, and using the panchayat fund judiciously for extremely important practical gender needs of the community. On day 4, my presentation was on gender gap in workforce participation in the Indian economy, and it began with a very detailed examination of reasons for low work participation of women, even as compared with our South Asian other countries and Asian countries. Work participation is very limited. 94% of women who are in the informal sector, about which detailed analysis will be provided by Professor Manimekalai today. We had Professor Tara Nair, who spoke on women's leadership in entrepreneurship, and she gave this whole, first of all, she gave the idea of the political economy and the whole, how does the gender affect entrepreneurship in the neoliberal context. And she also talked about so many areas in which there is women are facing a lot of challenges, because, and they also face fear of failure. But at the same time, we see some of the models where women, even from the poverty groups, have had collectively strived to make their enterprise successful. She gave example of Seva, Jagori, Anandi, which are working. These are the NGOs working with women, and they have also Mandeshi Mahila Sakari Mandi and Annapurna Mahila Mandal's examples also were provided by her. When it came to the farmers FPO, farmers cooperatives, and pisciculture, and some of the important collective endeavor in the rural and tribal area, there also she told some of the interesting stories of the grassroots movement. On day 5, we have Professor Shachmita Palo, who spoke on navigating the leadership, a tightrope walk, like evidence-based strategies for women's success. And she talked about, first she talked about the concepts and theories of women in the leadership role in the corporate world and the corporate governance. And she gave example of a test in which the participants were asked to rate writing without telling that it was written. They were told that their writings were by women, participants were very harsh. But when they were told that the writings were by men, then they were far more generous in their evaluation. So she said that this kind of stereotypes of preconceived notion about ability of man and women is very, very strong in the world of corporate leadership. And that is why she said that for the same kind of attributes, men and women are rated differently. A woman, if she tries to be assertive, she is called bossy. While if it is, and she gave example of Jacinda Ardern, and she said that how she became a target of misogyny in politics, where violent, vulgar, vitriolic, crude, sexist, dehumanizing language is used, and out of sheer dejection, Jacinda Ardern had to resign. And she said, this is repeating, history is repeating, and it is the ganging up by the old boys, no, who see these women in the public arena, and they try to create they try to create disempowering environment. She pointed out, Professor Palo pointed out that women do not negotiate for more money. They care for social capital. And that is, she said that while talking about need of strategic network, I think Professor Palo also said that it is very important that if you are a leader, you have to think like reader. And she gave she quoted some of the case studies by Harvard Business School and power of only women networks and how they are empowering each other. Day 6 was chaired by Professor M. Indira, and I request her to summarize the point, and after that we can, our experts for the day, they can start their presentation. Yeah, Professor Indira.
I'm sorry, certain domestic responsibilities demanded my attention. I'm really sorry, Vibhuti. I didn't get actually. Just now I came. You said something?
Yeah. 6th day, what happened? The session which you chaired for Dr.
Yeah.
Nivedita Haran and Dr.
Yeah.
Chaudhary. Yeah.
Yeah. She spoke about, I don't know where I have written.
Yeah, both of them are IAS officers. One is the principal
Yeah,
secretary in Himachal,
she did
another one has worked in Kerala. Yeah.
Yeah, she did explain what is our responsibilities, something like that. She spoke about the public policy and why we only look at the government to do, why can't people take initiative, and what is our responsibility about that she spoke about. I think my notes is downstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can give me 1 minute, I'll just get it.
Yeah, I think later on, while summing up also, you can take
Yeah,
a
I can. Yeah, I can do that. I can do that.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So because we are reaching up, Professor Samapti Guha's time. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So we are now honored to welcome Professor Samapti Guha ji, who will deliver the session on women entrepreneurship. She will offer valuable insights into the landscape of women-led enterprises, the challenges female entrepreneurs encounter, and the strategies to foster an enabling ecosystem for women in business and innovation. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you for inviting me. And it's a great honor. And thank you to Dr. Arjun and his team, Vibhuti ma'am, and all other professors who already delivered the lecture. So today, because it is young women leaders in public policy, so any public policy demands a lot of evidences, and somewhere I feel that when we start researching women entrepreneurship, there is very lack of evidences based on which we can really come up with a very good policy for women entrepreneurship. Now today my talk is on what we are facing when we are doing research on women entrepreneurship, and what we need to do. This is based on my own own research, and so I just want to single window. Uh-huh.
And also adjust your screen. Your face
Yeah.
is getting cut. Yeah.
Yeah. Ma'am, is my screen is
PPT is
showing?
visible. Yeah, it
Visible?
is showing. Yeah, only it
Okay.
is in working mode. You can make it a slideshow mode.
Yes, sure. Okay. Now, is it
No,
okay?
no.
I made
And
it
I think
slideshow.
it is also showing property and all that, no?
Oh no, I
Properties.
make it slideshow mode. Is it not taking?
No, it is
Make
not
it
In
taking
my
slideshow.
screen,
slideshow.
it is
It
now.
also shows the properties, no?
Oh, but in my
Ah.
on my screen it is full screen mode. I don't know what is
Okay.
happening.
Okay. I think it is legible, so don't worry. Yeah.
Ma'am, please stop sharing and then share again.
Yeah.
Okay, that I can do. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm,
Below, green icon.
yeah. Now I have to stop share. I shared, so I have to
Yeah.
stop share and then again I have to share.
And please adjust your screen. Your face is getting cut.
Yeah.
Oh,
Fine. Yeah, fine. Now it is. Now it is fine.
okay. And I share the screen. Yes, allow and single window. Share. Now is it showing?
It's the same thing, but it's okay. Go ahead.
I don't know why it is doing so. On my screen it is full screen.
Okay.
Now also it is the same thing is showing.
Yeah, it is showing properties, slide, landscape,
Means
none, insert image,
all the menus are showing, right?
showing layouts. Yeah.
I
That is on the right side, and the left side are the slides, and in between are the individual slide. Yeah, but it's okay. Please go ahead.
no, I wanted to do this. Let me see, pause share. Preview. Some.
Ma'am,
Okay, fine.
if you can mail it to us, we can share it.
Okay, I can do that.
You can stop share and mail it to us, and you can proceed. Meanwhile, we will bring it.
Yes.
Okay.
I am doing. So, should I mail it to? There is a from no reply to at the rate IMPRI India gmail.com. Should I send there?
No, director.impri@gmail.com. Arjun Kumar.
Arjun ko
Ma'am,
bhejo.
send in IMPRI only. We'll get in any email.
Because I have the mail from IMPRI.
Send in that only. No.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
I know I'm losing a lot of time.
No. That's why I said please go ahead. No problem.
And ma'am, how much time do I have?
Your session is from 3 to 4.
Okay.
But we can stretch, no problem. You can start. You have your PPT, no? You can start.
Yeah, I have, but I'm sending the PPT to IMPRI so that they can start my thing. Please check. Have you received it? Have you received my PPT? IMPRI team? Have you received my PPT?
Just checking.
Yeah, I have sent.
Yeah. Samapti, please start. You have your PPT, no?
Okay.
You can refer to
Okay.
it. Huh.
I can start. I
Yeah.
can so that they can also start whenever they are getting. So when we look at the girls' education and all these, we all know that now these days girls' education has tremendously, especially the higher education. If you think that data from UGC, we can see that there are a lot of girls' participation in the higher education. So not only that, they are also doing very excel. Okay. However, when we look at the any kind of job, whether it is self-employment or the job or the wage employment, there we see lot of thumb rules still now is working. The higher up an organization's hierarchy, the fewer the women. And so top level CEO also, you can see that whole world it is 2 to 3%. But now, in case of the Fortune 500 companies in US, there is little bit changes. It's increased this time. It is just 10%. Then also it is not nowhere nearby 50-60%. Okay. So every year, if we look at the gender gap report 21, 24, 2017, 2020, even ILO other reports also till 20. I track all these reports. I'm not talking about the only the data, but we can see that there is a very less number of women when you go through the pyramid. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So my recent work is on the women representation in management, and after that, when I doing this study, I have seen that there are several senior managers, they are talking about to start their own startup, and they are doing very well in their own organizations. But why they are going to do their startup or the enterprise, that actually made me interested to step into this whole area of women entrepreneurship. So earlier we thought that those who are not getting good education, maybe they are ended up in the enterprise, a small micro nano enterprise. But what happened to these women who are got education like IITs, IIMs, and after that also, why they are not so happy whenever they are holding a high position? Next slide, please. Next slide. Now when we look at that this is a trend is coming up, emerging trend, that there are several women, not only they start their journey as a startup, but also from a good career, and they want to leave and start their own. So there we saw that there are several reasons why women what restrict women to climb their career growth. So there is we found that there are a lot of lack of social capital, lack of supportive and cooperative environment, then lack of line experiences. So for example, one manager I met during the interview, she was a metallurgical engineer, and she said that when I joined the industry, nobody is allowing me to go to the field because metallurgy is very much production oriented thing. And she was given the HR role, and then she doesn't want to continue that job and change the profession. So then there are also sometimes senior managers are very difficult to approach. That is also create a lot of problem. Then lack of role model, because of their seniors are not there, so they don't find the role model. And then work life balance, all the others are reasons also these women to go to the board level. uh, Change, please. Please change the slide. Yeah. Then if I come down to the more deeper reason why it is so, I have seen that gender stereotypes work a lot, and patriarchy, because those managers who are holding a higher position, they are also coming, they are also a production products of the patriarchal society. So their belief system about the gender also sometimes creates a lot of barriers for the women. So for example, some kind of marketing decision women cannot take. Okay, there are several strategy decisions where women cannot spend beyond the office hours. So those are the belief system, and it's surprising that why I need to spend beyond the office hours to make the strategy, why not during the office hours? So there is no right questions you are allowed to ask. And then there are gender roles, discriminations, harassment, and also occupational segregations. You can, there upon your senior is saying that these are the jobs are not for you, there are several other jobs you can do. So women, you should go for the CSR, you should go for HR. So there are Axis Bank manager who wanted to do lot of strategy, change fintech division and all this, but she was told by the senior that you are so good with the public, you should take a charge of the CSR. Okay, so there are several form of discrimination. It is quite sometimes you don't realize also that you are discriminated, but if you realize, then you don't want to feel like staying for a long time. Next slide please. Next slide please. So
Yes.
there are glass ceiling, glass walls. I'm not getting into those problems. I skip through. Next slide please. Next slide please. Yeah. Then also we found that some of them are also very successful. So why? Because there is a several organizations take up the diversity policies. Some of the organizations also need to cope up with the new technology changes. So if you have the good skills, so you are getting the chance. Demand for human resource, legal requirement, personal competencies, and also national affirmative actions. There are several countries in the globe who are doing the affirmative actions, and we can see that Iceland, we can see that Norway and all, where you can see that a lot of women are at the top position. Next slide please. Yeah. Now I come down to the entrepreneurship. And when I look at the data about the women entrepreneurship, I'm not talking about the multinational companies and the big business. If I go to the MSME data, okay, the current annual report of 23-24, it shows that micro enterprises, you can see that only 20% female are there. Then if you go to the small, it come down to 5%. And if you go to the medium scale enterprises, you can see that only 2.6% women are in India. The enterprise, those enterprises are run by the women. So the in the entrepreneurship area, there is a very low penetration. Why I chose MSME? Because I know that if it is a vibrant startup systems in India, which is everybody is talking about it, then majority should be in the micro, small, and medium sector, right? So then we also see that so much low penetration of women into this whole entrepreneurship premises. Next one. Even if we look at the gender gap in Indian labor market, we see that World Bank estimates that 75% of working age women, and out of this, 35% of India's working age population currently do not have paid work, any form of payment, wage or self. Only 59% of women have access to mobile phones with an abysmally low internet penetration rate of 90%. Because why I consider this data? Because there are also emergence of the e-commerce platforms and the business also happening in the platform economy. So there also you can see that low penetration of internet and the access to mobile phones among the women. only 35% of the women actively use their bank accounts, further limiting their opportunities. And women represent 42% of the agricultural labor force, but only 2% of them have the farmland. So access to land also, you can see that so low. And approximately 432 million working age women in India, but 343 millions are not in paid formal work, and an estimated 324 million of these women are not in the labor force, and another 19 million are in the labor force but not employed. So that's the broad scenario. Next please. Now, why do women take up entrepreneurship? When we are looking through the literature, as well as my own work, when I'm mentoring the social startups, as well as when I talk to the women entrepreneurs, we have seen that the level of playing field for the high impact employment creating entrepreneurs also, you can see among the women who are got highly educated and who want to leave their highly paid job and they want to start up. This is one category. Then there are also women who have they too have dreams, the ambitious solopreneurs and small business owners, to scale and become high impact entrepreneurs. So impact on job creation, they are also impacting the job creation scenario. You can see that Nika. Okay, you can also think about Kiran Majumdar Shah. Okay, so expand the funnel to get more women to start enterprises, removal of patriarchal pressure. There is another category of women entrepreneur who are saying that we already face lot of problems in the current job, in our ex jobs, and we want to create a space where other women can work so that we can question the patriarchy. So it is almost like a kind of entrepreneurship is a source of emancipation. Okay, they emancipated and they want other women to be emancipated through this entrepreneurship job. And then also they build, strengthen and scale productive rural agripreneurs also, we have seen where already major agricultural works are done by women, and you can see that organics. And then there are also several startups where women are working in the area of agriculture and they want to create agri entrepreneurs also. Next slide please. Next slide please. Now when I see all these and having a lot of discussion with the entrepreneurs, we think that why do we need to do the research on women entrepreneurship? Is that the different kind of entrepreneurship, or we can get different kind of dimensions? So let's see what is different, because we already studied a lot of entrepreneurship and from the male perspective, that there is a family business, there sometimes they want to grow, sometimes they want to scale up their business, they want to create a lot of jobs. So those are the things, and they love to take risk. All those things we already got to know for a long time from the entrepreneurship research. And if you look at the topmost journal like Entrepreneurship Theory and Practice, Journal of Business Venturing, all these entrepreneurship journal, you will not find a single literature which is talking in a different or capturing different dimensions of the women entrepreneurship, which is very different from the male entrepreneurship. So that forces us to think that uh, let's delve into it. Next slide please. So shortcomings of research on women entrepreneurship. Now when we look at the research articles, we see that there is a very one sided empirical focus on women entrepreneurship. It is very popular thing that women have lack of education, and that led to lack of access to resources, and that led to lack of scale. Okay, and a lack of theoretical grounding also we have seen for gender. because entrepreneurship literature, it talks about gender means a binary polarization of two groups based on their sex. So there, sex and gender doesn't have any difference. So these are all, when we say that gender is a socially constructed concept, that perspective is missing in case of the women entrepreneurship literature. And there also, we have seen that a lot of negligence of structural, historical and cultural factors, because if I consider the patriarchal society, then lot of cultural factors also influence the women's decision of taking up entrepreneurship or not taking up the entrepreneurship. So those are the things are very much missing from current existing research on women entrepreneurship. Next slide, please. The use of male gendered measuring instruments also we are using. We never including any cultural factors as a factor of influencing enterprise decision for the women, and or for the any of the entrepreneur. Okay, so they are generally profitability, sustainability and all those things we are thinking about. And the absence of a power perspective, the lack of explicit feminist analysis is also found. And discourse of entrepreneurship is based on the social discourse of men are meant for earning income and women are meant for caregiving, destructive practices of research. So according to Foucault 1972, he mentioned that some practices are unquestioned. So it is so imbibed in our methodology that we are not supposed to question why it is so. Okay. So how are women entrepreneurs perceived and analyzed by the researchers having a psychological makeup that is less entrepreneurial or at least different from that of a man's? Okay, so that's big entrepreneurship authors, they also perceive in a similar fashion and having less motivation for entrepreneurship or for growth of their businesses. So they think that okay, it's women led, that means it's a small thing. Okay, it doesn't have any impact on the economy, it's just a localized some sort of business. And women means insufficient education and or experience. Okay, which is very wrong. And having less desire to start a business, it's also a kind of biased notion that women do not have any desire. Okay, they can't see the dream, they can't have any aspiration. So these are all researched facts. Okay, and it is not, they are not paying any attention, these are all the assumptions. So entrepreneurship research based on such of the assumptions. Okay, next slide please. Yeah, being risk averse, women means risk averse. Okay, but the patriarchal society never pay any attention that women is the only gender who are bearing the child and they take their life risk for that. Then why not they are ready for the taking the business risk? So that answer is no way coming from the entrepreneurship researchers. Having unique startup difficulties or training needs, using less than optimal or perhaps feminine management practices. I don't know which kind of management practices is called feminine management practices, but these are the coming from those. And you can look at the year of publication 83, 86, 97, 92, 94. So 83 to 97, so long years. This kind of mindset researchers did have. And so this is pointed out by a very good strong researcher in entrepreneurship theory and practice in 2006, who pointed out that these are the lacuna in the women entrepreneurship research. So we need to think about the other way, that whenever we are talking to the women entrepreneurs, maybe our questions, we need to reframe our questions. Maybe we lot of cultural questions, lot of their journey in the whole life we need to incorporate along with the financial and and other aspects of the entrepreneurship. Next, please. Next. So I talk about this methodology. When we talk about the women entrepreneurship, we will do the survey, that's also there. But before that, we need to do a lot of constructivism. So we need to talk about their journey, in-depth interviews about their choices, their decision-making process, what kind of logic they are using, all these things. And later on, so I see that in the whole research area, there are several. One is only doing the constructivism, only doing the post positivism. And so can you just who is running my slides, please? Yeah. So we also need to see that what are the nested methods and the sequential methods. I mean that first of all, we can also subjective inquiry we can do, and then in the within the subjective inquiry also we can do little bit survey. Or when we are doing the survey, we can also do, if needed, we can also, because context to context it is different, women are different, they are part of different culture. So nested methods and the sequential methods we need to apply now these days. May not be like only survey will help us. Next. Yeah, next. So what are the gap noticed in the literature review we already mentioned. Then also relatively it is a new field to do the women entrepreneurship research in a different way. So limited research on women entrepreneurs and their economic impact. Also most of the studies based on the stereotypical thought about the concept of gender. Limited research in India. Generally women entrepreneurship, more research happened in USA, Japan, France, because their statistics are available. In our country, the problem is that proper statistics are also not available only for the women entrepreneur. And very narrow approach. Few studies have confirmed that certain barriers exist, but categorically such barriers are not analyzed. Okay, so women are facing barriers, but what are the barriers? That is not available. Next. Then lack of theoretical perspectives also. The research work done earlier has neglected theoretical understanding of the phenomenon like glass ceiling, glass wall, that indeed descriptive in nature. We need to talk about it also. And a comprehensive study on personal work, organizational, social factors leading to impact creation by women entrepreneurs needs to be taken. Next. Yeah. So your objectives, can you change the slide, please? So broad objectives was to explore the genesis of the opportunity-driven women enterprises and to understand why they are progressing in some industries and why they are falling behind their male counterparts in some industries, to explore the impact of women entrepreneurs in India. Next. So I take all the factors which might influence the women entrepreneurs in their whole process of entrepreneurship. Next. So data and method of analysis is that long conversation with and interviews of Dr. Medha Samant, Annapurna Mahila Mandal, a social enterprise, Sudha Kothari, Chaitanya, a microfinance institutions, and focus group discussions with 50 plus women entrepreneurs during different workshops were organized by Iron Lady Foundation, Bangalore. They are working with the women entrepreneurs, and also conducted some of the workshops I conducted. And I also do a lot of mentoring of the social entrepreneurs and the grassroots entrepreneurs. So these are all the data collected from different point of time, and then I did the content analysis. So what the content is coming from all these topmost CEOs to the startups. Change, please. Now when we look at the please stick to genesis. Genesis of women-led enterprises, it's different reasons a woman start the enterprise. First of all, I have get a lot of entrepreneurs who told me that ill treatment in the organization after maternity. So after maternity, when they are in the job, their body shaming is a very big problem, and it comes in subtle way, and then they think that in this organization I have already contributed 12 years, 13 years, and at what cost? Why should I be there when, because it is my second home, and then I am treated like a kind of product, a kind of consumer centric good, right? So I have to leave, and this is not the place I want to see me at least in the future. So that is major, some very big number of women entrepreneurs told me that these ill treatment, ma'am, one fine morning we thought that what I am doing and what I am going to teach my next generation, let you know stop this job, and then I will start my own. Next is that not getting chance to innovate. There are several good women entrepreneur who are engineers and science graduate. They want to innovate. They said that my subject taught me how to innovate, and I'm not getting any chance. So that's why I start my own enterprise. Then there are cases sexual harassment at workplace and not getting justice. So when they report to the Gender Justice Committee, they were told that it is not sexual harassment, it's just a friendly advancement. Please withdraw your case. And when they withdraw the case, they were cornered, so they didn't feel like staying there. Then there are segment who said that not getting challenging job roles, so line jobs we are not getting. And then I already narrated a story of a metallurgical engineer. So she left and she started her own thing. Then dream to become entrepreneur. There are also women who think that if I be the entrepreneur, I can be the my own boss. So I want to create the jobs for others. And there are also societal problems where women said that to prove a point that a woman can achieve. So my business is not only my business, my enterprise is not only my enterprise. This gives me a lot of courage to prove that I can do it. Next, reasons for progress, personal factors. They say that age of kids matter. If I have younger kids, I couldn't do a lot of many things, but the moment my kid understand that they can take care of themselves, like class 7th 8th standard, then we grow at a faster rate. Supportive family members are very much important. Your spouse or your in-laws or your even your parents, if they are supportive, then business enterprise can happen. Interest and innovativeness and total work experience also sometimes matter, because by that time they have a good network of their office colleagues or the support suppliers and all these. Sometimes they got the, when they left their job, they can get the investment from their own company also under CSR. That is also very common thing. Next, work factors. They, all of them, I think 90%, they said that skill matters. What of the skills are available in your enterprise and your partners, whatever the skill are needed, if it is there, you can grow at a very faster rate. Access to resources and schemes and policies also, they said that sometimes government, some of them also got some government loan which is at a very lack of low interest rate, like 8%, because women entrepreneur. So that helps them a lot. Then proximity to market, position of their enterprises also matters a lot, and efficiency, of course. Next, organizational factors. They said that because we the women entrepreneur and we know that we have double chores, domestic chores as well as the work related thing, so we formulate the policy of flexible working hours, and that gives a lot of ease to our all other workers also. And when you create a flexible working hours, then it is for our members also easy to contribute. And sometimes team building also, they put a lot of importance that because of the lack of team support we left our job. So that learning we also imply here, that we need to create a strong team, so that if I am not there, my team will run the enterprise. And most of them who are really doing well, I have seen that they have a very strong team. And also leadership, it is a very notable point that these women entrepreneurs also created a distributive leadership. Okay, so there is a culture of debate and discussion. Strategic decision is all the employees are involved into it. Those are the matter a lot. And also they said that we need to think about the employee welfare. So we want to become a ethical entrepreneur. There are several one said that ethical entrepreneur, ethically also we can earn profit. So we can distribute the welfare too. Next, social factors, non-discriminatory practices, and they focus on social capital. They said that we need to build a social capital not only within the company but also the outside of the world. So they prefer to go to attend any of the forums so that their network can strong. And they mention that when we are in the workforce, and we have seen that there is a boys tea club, because why male managers are growing, because half of the decision is taken in that tea club. So that tea club culture is nothing but the social capital, improvement of the social capital. So they also said that we need to focus on social capital, equal treatment by the stakeholders, supportive neighborhood, friends and family, and non-discriminatory practice. These are all very strong factors coming out of the study. Next. Next, please. Yeah. Now, when we talk about the impact of women entrepreneurship, we have also seen in case of the microfinance industry, because why I chose that industry, because there are a lot of women. So we did a 104 microfinance institution study for 4 years, and all the layers, board management and operation level, we have seen that bring gender diversity in the board management and operation level also help that not only the operational efficiency but also social performance wise also they are very good. And formulate policies, women entrepreneurs also they formulate policies which help the women workforce to maintain work life balance, like daycare center near office, flexible timing. Those are the organizational policies also women entrepreneurs are very supportive of. Influencing the system to have flexible working hours for all the workforce, that is coming out again and again from the success of the women entrepreneurs. They facilitate to form a group of efficient and sensitive managers across the gender to address the issues of discrimination. Because there are several cases, the women entrepreneurs, they left their first job because of the gender discrimination or the sexual harassment and all these. So when they start their enterprise, they focus on how to stop such kind of discrimination. Next, please. I will take 2 minutes more. And when they come up with, and I also asked about them the attrition rate. They said that when we are correcting the our welfare measure as well as this kind of policy, supportive policy, it also reduced the attrition rate. And in case of any form of harassment, grievances unit is taking unbiased opinion of the external experts. So most of the entrepreneurs, they said that for the grievances cell, they don't include any of the individual member. They have a outside board, means outside lawyer from outside, other experts, gender experts from outside, they created that board. be the change agent of the system instead of a subordinate of the system. And also they, all of them, they said that whether we are women or men, that doesn't make any sense if the enterprise is not contributing to the GDP or not creating the job creation. So these two are always at the center, and we have to create the system in such a way so that everybody can peacefully contribute to the GDP. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your enlightening session. Your in-depth analysis of has provided us with valuable perspectives on the opportunities and the obstacles in this domain, and underscored the need for inclusive policies and institutional support to empower women entrepreneurs. I would now like to invite Professor Vibhuti Patel ji and Professor M. Indra to share their reflections and remarks with us.
Yeah. Professor Samapti Guha, you have made a very insightful and data-driven presentation, and I think you have, two books to your credit based on a primary data collection. It's a very rigorous, both conceptually, theoretically, as well as in terms of the primary work in the field that you have done. My question is about the recent warning which is given by President of United States of America to the UN that that they should not talk about gender and DIE policy, no, diversity, empowerment, and inclusion policy. So what do you have to say? Will it have ramifications in several other countries also, or do you think it will be we will have our own independent way of going ahead? Yeah,
I think we should not, scared about such kind of, I'd say that a very strong word like threat, because we need to have this, because our all the countries' data is showing, even if the president is threatening UN, but then also in his country, own country, that is the only 10% women workforce are at the top. So if there is so much diversity, why it is not nearing 30 or 40%?
but
My
still he
question is
feels
that,
threatened. No, even with 10%, he feels threatened. So that's the
so
problem.
that's why I'm saying that, see, earlier those days, I could have said that let's protest. Okay. Now, who will listen to that? The
Yeah.
whole world is anti gender, pro racist, pro religious, all these things you and all of us are seeing. Now what is the thing? I don't think that now we have to depend on any top down approaches and all these. We have to working at the local phases and local, and if every local we are taking care of that, that president cannot see, right? Not even so at the base, if we work and in aggregate, I think we will give our response. And still gender diversity is a matter, still gender is a matter, including the third gender. It is a matter, it's a
So
human
we have to
thing.
see to it and build a public opinion
Yes,
that
yes,
United
yes.
Nations doesn't capitulate, because he has
No,
specially mentioned UNICEF and UN
no, we
Women.
have to
And
do constructive work and protest in a different way, I think.
yeah,
We have to write, as an academician, I think that I should write again and again. I re-insist the same thing again and again. That is
correct.
my academic activism.
Professor Indira, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Miss Sampati. It's really, really very nice because you gave the entire picture of women entrepreneurs and the factors influencing both institutional and also the social factors, and also the impact of women entrepreneurship, and how it leads to efficiency, operational efficiency, and also it facilitates the functioning. I just want to ask you one thing, like do you see that there is a kind of mismatch in what we are teaching at higher education institutions and promoting entrepreneurship among women. See, what you see is, you find lots of girls entering into the higher education institutions. Now we have more girls than boys. That's what I find. But very few are, like you also mentioned about that. But I'm looking at from the academic perspective. Do you think that there is a kind of mismatch in what the higher education institutions are imparting and whether they are helping women to transform into entrepreneurs? And what role women centers? We have women studies centers. Maybe like what happened earlier about the some studies, network studies. Do you think that there is a need to look at that kind of broader studies?
Yeah, ma'am, I think that there are a lot of academic institutions are working towards how we can, facilitate the women entrepreneurship. But having said that, I think that those are the things are new to the academic institutions also, and I think that whoever are achieving, we need to connect them to the academic institution. So I think industry connect is also very much important now these days. So women studies centers should also collaborate with startups, women led startups, or maybe some cases, live cases, if we can present in front of the students without saying them that you do the entrepreneurship. If I can connect them to the entrepreneurs, and then they can start to feel that ease, that I can do it. If she
Yeah,
can
it is
do it, I
doable.
can do it.
Yes,
It is doable.
it
So
is doable.
those are the sessions I think we need to organize for the students, that will motivate. And then maybe if in a batch of 30, 2 to 3 women also come forward and start, and then we also create a hand holding, like connecting them to the incubation center, connecting to the mentors. And so those are the things I think slowly we have to take up.
Yeah, such kind of partnering among the institutions.
Partnering, sometimes seminar, sometimes yeah.
Yeah.
So along with the academic persons, we can also call some of the entrepreneurs to come and motivate the students.
Now, under
Some,
NEP, we have the possibility of involving practitioners
yes,
in the
yeah.
academia. But
Mm.
yeah,
This year they have started implementing also. I think some
yeah,
of the
Yeah,
states they have
yeah,
started.
yeah, some
yeah.
of the states, yeah,
Mm,
that is a
mm.
good opportunity. I was happy
Yes,
that when practitioners are given an
yeah.
opportunity to come to
Mm-hmm.
academics. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah. Thank you. So, any other?
Floor is now open for questions from the audience, participants. You can raise hands or type in the Q&A box.
Dr. Kasturi, would you like to? Akanksha Singh. Please go ahead.
Good evening, ma'am. I
Good
wanted
evening.
to add that in the slide, initially you showed a few reasons. What were those reasons for, like the glass ceiling and all? Were those reasons of why women are shifting from corporate to entrepreneurship, or those were the reasons of why women were not choosing to be entrepreneurs?
No, no. When I talked about the reasons, those are the reasons within the industry why not women are going to the top position, reaching to the top.
Yeah.
Okay, what are the barriers when they are in the job?
Yeah, okay, got it. Thank you, ma'am, for clarifying. Ma'am, I have a follow-up question. Like, did you, in your research, anywhere come across women uh, who who like this might be an unconventional question, who left it just because they don't want to further pursue because uh, they were just tired, or anybody like who, because most of the women around me, what I have seen in my friend circle or the seniors, they just don't want, because in big corporates, the global corporations, I don't think many of these reasons are true. Like these, there are no, mostly there are no barriers because there are many rules and regulations. So in those corporations also we see very few women, almost no women in top positions. And in my friend circle and around me also, I've seen they are just choosing not to work. And why is that happening? Because if we are fighting for equality, I think one of that is one of the reason why we are always differentiated. It emanates from that, because so why are these women choosing to not do it?
When we pose the reasons of the barriers, there one social aspect, you can see that gender stereotyping and the patriarchy. So one reason could be that a young manager entering into the industry and then they got married and then she had children and there is no space to keep the children. Okay, everybody do not have the access to the creche and all this. Okay, most of the time the career gap, the career break in management literature, if you study career break, most of the time it is because of the domestic chores, and under patriarchy it is the woman who is supposed to take care of all the intergenerational family members, because there are in-laws, there are young children, and then the woman, even if she is efficient, but it is only 24 hours, so how much work she can do. And most of the time I have seen that the familial pressure forces them to especially in your the case you gave me the example. In such cases, that is the major reason rather than the organization policy or any other work related inefficiency. It is more on the familial burden, work life balance. Okay.
And all these very progressive so-called big corporations with rules and regulations, there also the HR heads are saying that microaggression is very high. The taunting,
Yeah,
body shaming,
yeah,
seeing
yeah,
women as a piece of cake, and it gets
yeah,
very, and with such talented women, like I was conducting a session with the women engineers of RCF, Russia Chemical Fertilizers, and
mm.
all of them are BTech and MTech from IITs, no?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
when they are handling machine, they are focusing on their hand whether it looks attractive or not. Colleagues, no,
yeah,
and the bosses.
yes,
So that kind of continuous trivialization, marginalization, and it goes at such a ridiculous level. No, it just becomes very uh, insulting and very unnerving to women. No, so it's and continuous
yeah,
gaslighting that happens in the office
yeah,
atmosphere. No?
yeah,
That was reported, and they gave so many examples. This
and
or going to, yeah.
they don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, but at least in that session, they
Yeah,
did
no,
talk
no.
about the
Most
atmosphere.
of the women managers, when I spoke about it, they told me and they said that this is informal, not formal.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. They say
So
don't
don't
quote me.
include.
Yeah, don't quote me.
Uh,
Yeah, correct, correct. Yeah.
mm,
Even for the Jindal metals, also I had the HR person had invited me, and the kind of,
mm.
and these are highly competent women. They say, "Ma'am, we never give any excuse. We don't come late. We report on time," and that's what the Claudia Golden also says. No, that
Yeah,
200 years of history. Now
yeah,
you have a generation of women. They don't give any excuse for being a woman. No, they whatever men are doing, they are doing. They reach on
yeah,
time. They've given their
yeah,
100%. They are ready to sacrifice anything for the
yeah.
office work. They are
Correct.
at the back end call 24/7, and
Mm,
still
mm,
there is a wage gap. There is a gap
mm,
in the
mm,
promotion,
mm,
and
mm,
that's a global. And she has done the
mm.
global study. That's why she got the Nobel
Yeah.
Prize. No?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Thank you.
Dr.
Yes,
Mohit.
ma'am, I had one question. Can I go ahead?
Yeah, yeah. Please go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, seeing these discussions, I have one question that is, as a female, how do you prove the decision-making capabilities which you have? Because sometimes the decisions are given by, am I audible, ma'am?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Because sometimes, ma'am, the decisions are given by you, but the credibility then shifts to the male counterparts. And then, yeah, so how do you, so are there any call to action steps which you have come in your research, which you have done? That is the first part of the question, ma'am. And second part is to if I want to delve more into this research, what would be the researchers and the books, reference book, if you could suggest, whom I can, follow? The first part is decision making. Like if we are giving ideas and decisions are being taken, because you rightly mentioned many a times in the meetings, discussions are done, but then there are beyond the working hours, certain things happen, but you are not, you don't expose yourself beyond the working hours. And there is where there is the fear of missing out. So, yeah, yes, ma'am, that
See,
was the
I can
question.
narrate, I can understand what you are saying. I can narrate a story of
We
an
all have some.
CEO.
Yeah.
CEO. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So she is in the executive board by the norms of the company, right? And she used to stay in the till 8 o'clock. And because she is the only woman, and most of the executive board members, they used to meet when she left, and all the decisions taken beyond and in the morning she used to see the mail that decision is already taken because of majority of voting.
Okay.
And I'm not taking the name of the well known MNC. And to show the gender diversity, they only consider one woman CEO. And it was so frustrated she left.
Broken.
So that's why lot of people ask me the question that if the women become the CEO, suppose 50% women become the CEO, do you think the meaning of entrepreneurship will change? I said
Definitely.
that I don't have any evidence now. Forget about 50%, 10% evidence I don't have. And without evidence, how do I know that whether the meaning of entrepreneurship is going to change or what? So I think that we need to wait for sometimes. We need to create a more women to space for more women to come. We need a like boys club. I would say that we need human club.
Only.
And along with the men we have to work, because there are men who also equally feel bad for women. Because in my study, there are a lot of male entrepreneurs who said that it is happening with the women, not with the men. So we have to find out those right people and create a club, and then getting into the decision making. I know what I'm saying. It is not impossible, but very hard. But we have to wait for that. We have to continuously working hard.
Ma'am, and the
No, but they have
gemstone
done
which
it,
you,
no?
yes.
In the Scandinavian countries, in the European Union, they have done it.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah, they have done it.
absolutely. And
Iceland,
ma'am, the gemstone which you mentioned was human club. So it's
yeah,
not about male or female, it is about
yeah.
the
It's
credibility,
a
the
all gender
person who
club.
has the capability,
Yeah,
and being human enough to give the credit to the
yeah,
individual who
yeah.
comes with
Ethical.
those ideas. Yes.
Yes.
Thank
Ethical.
you,
And
ma'am. Yeah.
for the book, I would say that you go by the authors.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Huh. Like, देखो, if we start historically, we start with the Becker's
Right.
work. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Gary Becker's work.
Okay.
Then we can also we have to and only entrepreneurship. You can see that Kudatko and all those. And
Okay.
if you want to look at the entrepreneurship theory path dependency on these, you have to read Penrose. And then you have to come down to little more gender feminist theories. If you look at it, so Kaufman, we Goldin, Kaufman, all these you should look at, those feminist scholars who are working on women and work.
Yes.
Then you can, those work you can implement in the women entrepreneurship theories.
Sure, ma'am. Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah.
And now social feminists, like you can also look at Naila Kavi's work. That is
Mhm.
also a lot of things you
Yes.
can get from her.
About empowerment.
Yes.
Sure, ma'am. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Dr. Mohinder.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, my question is that we normally talk about women during reproductive health and all, but nowhere it is considered that women have problems at different stages. For example, when the women is going for this menstrual cycle also, then there are lots of problem, and then menopausal problems. At that time, there should be some sort of systems within the workplace that emotionally they are not balanced enough at that time, and physically also there are some of the challenges. It's just the phase, as we expected that at home also we are treated that way. Even we are not treated that way at the home front also. So we don't talk much about that. I haven't heard any discussion over this, that the women ought to be considered empathetically at that moment also. What's your take over this?
No, we have to be very vocal about it. That I can tell you. But there are several psychologists are working, especially the industrial psychologists are working in such areas. But because it is not my area of research, I'm not well versed in it. But I think mental health issues, because see, menopausal thing also connected to the mental health issue. Okay, so there are several mental health practitioners are also talking about it. But I think that slowly it will come to the academic domain also. More research we need to work. But in our everyday life, we have to be very vocal about it. Now we are, if we are not emancipated, we got so much education from us. I think every one of us will start that kind of movement from our home itself. Mm.
And also
It
the society,
ma'am.
menopause also, where there is a positive environment, all of us have had menopause. But when there is a positive environment and nobody makes you feel that you are useless.
Mm.
Vidyut, Professor Vidyut Mohanty gave an example that a Charpanch, a woman, she had a menopause and all villagers, they saw that now you are useless for your husband. How are you going to be useful to the village? If this is the kind of ideology, obviously she will be emotionally
Yeah,
disturbed, no? But
yeah.
otherwise, I don't think that menopause causes emotional imbalance. No, it is
Mm.
the societal attitude,
Mm.
attitude of the family, attitude of the
Yeah,
husband, how supportive and empathetic they are. Children, no,
yeah.
all of them. It's because women being treated only as a uterus, if you just think your capacity is only that of producing
Mm.
babies and
Yeah,
rest of the time you are not human being, then it will happen. So I think even the
yeah.
attitude of the people and colleagues also have to change, because even
Mm.
hysterectomized women, they are
Mm.
said that you are no more a
Mm.
woman, no? That's what,
Mm.
yeah.
Mm.
So,
Ma'am, I think some sort of mentorship ought to be required in that direction, so that all the people who are working with you, they should understand and they don't make fun of you that yes, she's complaining for this or that. Some sort of mentorship is also required within the
it
organization,
should
and
be
it ought to
there,
be
yes. Yeah,
yes.
I think the whole reproductive health issue should be included in the staff development program. And I think this is a good suggestion you have given.
Yeah,
I will see to it that which are the new syllabus, right from police academy to public sector enterprises, there should be a session on the reproductive health issues, because that is what happened even during the COVID. It was not treated as
yeah,
Life
essential
cycle
issue, even by
approach.
the life cycle approach. And even medical science, doctors and hospitals, they did not mention it, no? How much women have to
Mm.
suffer during
Mm.
pandemic?
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
Mm.
that insensitivity has to,
Mm.
people have to be sensitized on these issues.
Mm.
Yes, it's very, very, very important. In this, Yeah, in the workers training program or the staff training program or the induction program or a probationers program, I think I will also recommend that there should be a session on it, because they have yoga, they have Reiki, then this thing of all the office rules, they have now rules about the safety at workplace. So all types of audits are there. So I think this should be there so that we create a more enabling environment, you know, for women and young women.
Are there any other questions from the participants? There are no more questions, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for your taking time to answer all the questions in such great detail with so much patience. And we hope to have you again at IMPRI's future programs. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Right, Professor. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Professor Patel.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next segment of today's program. Our next session is Women Workers in the Informal Sector by Professor N. Manimekalai. She will offer valuable insights into the realities of women's participation in the informal economy, the socio-economic challenges they face, and the policy measures needed to enhance their rights, security, and working conditions. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll make the presentation. You are sharing, Priyanka? Or I shall share?
Sharing.
Okay. I have shared. Hope it is visible?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It is in working mode. Make it a slideshow mode.
Slideshow. Times if I make that, it will go into. Yeah.
Yeah. Fine.
Okay, and at the outset, I would like to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity, and also appreciate IMPRI for organizing such innovative programs online that is really helping the people to join and continuously engage in. And also the nature of topics you have been offering in this, I should say, the curriculum or the syllabi. It also kind of giving them all insights of the current issues of concern and various topics. So I'll talk on women workers in the informal sector. And it is needless to say that women are extremely found in informal sector, and that too it is more than 90%. So let me start this distribution of workers in the at a global level. So what are the sectors in which the women are being represented, and then move on to various sectors in India and then the informal sector. So here it is seen that agriculture constitutes, this is for the globe, services 61%, agriculture 25%, and industry is only 13.5%. So in a way, it is communicating as like that in the beginning of any industrialization or the development process, it will be more on primary sector, normally the agriculture sector. And as you progress, it will be moving towards manufacturing industry, etc. And as a response to both these primary and secondary sector, the services sector or the tertiary sector will grow. That is the industrial patterns, established industrial patterns and economic growth theory theories have also been emphasizing. But what we now experience, whether it is in India or in the global, and even Nobel laureate Gladin also emphasized this, that more women are in service sector for some reasons or the other, not only women in general. And if you see women in leadership, it is only 23% of women in parliament, and it is the global again, it is not India, it is only now in India, it is now in the recent elections, it come down to a fraction from 14 point to 13 point something. And as CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, it is just 4%. That means women in the leadership position, because this program is all about young women leadership. But at the same time, further micro-level studies, in fact, even one of my students working on PhD for railway leadership, women in railway employment, where she could find that 25%, the recent young women leaders constitute around 25%. It's a national level study. So in that way, there are even that civil service aspirants are also more and qualifying more. Women are more and more qualifying, and in the other leadership position. So in the years to come, and so in that context, this young women leadership program will be very much supportive and apt also. And in terms of India, see the difference. So it is 71% agriculture, and other sectors, manufacturing is only 9%, and the other sectors constitute the service sector. So as far as the informal economy is concerned, the informal sector has a kind of what you call some flexibility. The very advantage of is that formal sector, you have to have limited, the structured and systematic working hours, but here you can go. That is why women choose to go to informal sector, but because of that flexibility, and it is possible to generate income. Say most of them will stay on the home-based work and generate income, and that income, whether it is accounted or not, they don't bother. That is one of the disadvantages why this income national accounting also not very much missing some of the major contributions of women, because they don't come under the accounting system at all. Anytime, any 1 hour or 2 hour, whatever they find, they will run a small shop, preparing eatables and supplying, or sitting at home, connecting to now in the digital era with the computer, they connect to entire world. So all this, many a time it doesn't get, and they also don't register, and therefore doesn't get counted at all. So that is one side of the coin. The other side is, of course, it is not regulated and not state protected. Since it is not, that is why we keep saying that you register your, when we were discussing about women-owned enterprises in the earlier session. So whatever the size, the scale of operation, you have to register so that whatever facilities available and benefits to flow in will come to your registered organization. And when you take the global picture again, at least for the South Asian context, the women in informal sector constitute around South Asia, it is 95% where India is located. For sub-Saharan Africa, this is a UN Women Statistics, 89% sub-Saharan. So that is lower than the South Asian context, and for Latin American, it is 59%. So relatively speaking, India is among South Asian countries, India is again constitute the maximum informal sector for the reasons we will be discussing later. And this informal sector women workers includes the self-employed women also. Some of them could be the street vendors, and also women in agriculture, and several other things which I have listed. The only aspect is that women informal sector accounting is very much limited, and therefore they tend to lose. And as far as these informal sector women, or in general women's work, what are the features? If you look into based on the studies and also the definitions, etc., you can observe that women are concentrated in low paid, low skill jobs, and there is lack of job security, which is obvious. Like one is to kind of, whenever it comes to the question of skilling, in the male members feel at the private space that, okay, they have to go and attend. And even if the women go and attend, I've been associated with several training programs, particularly this women entrepreneurship training. So they will come and have the training, but very enthusiastically, but at the same time, startup would be very, very limited. Even if it is 2%, 3% success of the entire group who underwent the training, it will be an appreciable point. So that is one of the reasons, and they don't skill themselves and also upgrade themselves to the requirements. Now things are changing, but still the minimum, it is the entire workforce or women don't get into skilling or upgrading their technical skill or digital skill, whatever. And informalization itself is characterized with insecurity, job insecurity in every sense of the term. So this is one important. Then half of the global workers in service, which we have seen already. In the high-income countries, women are concentrated in. That is also a difference that is between India and high-income countries, or between India and high and low-income countries. Women there in the high-income countries, you can see they are in health, education, wholesale and retail traders. So when I visited other countries, I could see in many of these malls, supermarkets, etc., mostly women in every chairs. It is not only the workers, even the managers, etc. We now things are changing here also in Indian context, but in the West, it is mostly completely 100% women engaged in these sectors are also there. Whereas in low income, middle income countries also, women are concentrated in agriculture, which was obviously shown in the diagram also already. Then sectoral and occupational segregation is also a consequence of structural barriers and gender-based discrimination, which is we claim that the women can only do this work. Even if you take agriculture, there are again some kind of work which equally requires hard labor. They have to bend the whole day for transplantation, that in whole body to be bent to engage in transplantation. But it is not labeled as a skilled work, and therefore they don't get equal attention in terms of payment. In fact, there are studies in India and also Latin American countries saying that many stillborn or stillbirth takes place because of the kind of work they do in agriculture. And most of the work they do without any support of any instrument, equipment, whether transplantation, it's all total manual labor. If you see the same agriculture work performed by men, it's all something, even if it is spade work, they will have the spade with them, or digging, everything, they will have a rod with them, etc. So the factors such as poverty, inflexible working hours, limited or no access to affordable quality childcare, poor parental leave policies, and social attitudes are the major factors which restrict the women to equally participate and also go upwards to gain better wages, etc. And women leadership in representation in trade unions also. When most of the time when you go as a guest to trade union programs, you will see that it is 1/10 of the people will be women. Trade union, when it comes to unions, mostly if it is only women union, then you will have site construction workers and all. There are, I used to go there, women alone, women in construction workers union, etc. And there are certain political parties also who have the women's wing. So there, of course, it is women. Otherwise, whether it is Bankers Association or any other Bankers Employees Association or any other trade unions, there you don't see more women. And mostly the programs will be conducted on weekends, and there you have your own commitments in the weekends, and therefore even if you come on Saturday, Sunday, it's totally difficult for them to participate. So it is required that women must be there in the trade unions, and that will take care of the issues to be addressed. Then it's already told that more than 90% of the women, and the World Bank also agrees that a significant proportion of the women labor engaged in the informal sector are not officially registered. I did make this point earlier. So registering yourself, whether you do any small petty shop running to going as construction worker or domestic worker, you have to register with an organized board. Of course, Tamil Nadu, we have that. I'm from Tamil Nadu, so we have that different boards for an organized sector, and it is also for others in other states. So you have to locate, and there is a separate labor commissioner works for that also. And there is a work from the worker side and also from the department side. There is a need to capture the interest by locating the spaces where these women, or in general the workers, could be informed about the registration process, and even some registration drives could be done. In fact, I can talk about the construction workers. Every day in the morning, there are 5-6 spots in which around 4,000 to 5,000 workers will be coming and assembling there in that particular point. Roughly about 20,000 or more, because I did a study recently with the construction workers, the sanitation needs of women in construction and other workers. Construction workers one component where I could see, because I had to visit all these 5-6 points where these people assemble, whether men or women. And they will be traveling for around minimum of 10 kilometers to maximum of 80 to 90 kilometers. So up and down will be around 200 kilometers. Traveling people are also there, and everyday commuting women, or they come and stay here for a week, hiring a temporary place and then go in the evening, in the weekend. So this is the informal sector will have its own arrangements for the women because of the failure of agriculture, particularly in the rural area. Women also try to identify certain kinds of work, in which construction work is one, the domestic work is another. Even the women during this pandemic also, some of the workers, domestic workers, particularly in Delhi and other such Cosmo and metropolitan cities, they had to go back, and the land ladies, the house owner, the people who, the employees of domestic workers did not call them back for the reasons of that restrictions. So many had to lose the job. This is one component. There were many, and I observed what happened, because we were closely associated with the textile and garment sector, which is another huge textile hub is there in Tamil Nadu, and millions of workers come every 3 months or 2 months. You can see people, migrant laborers coming from different parts of the country to Tamil Nadu, particularly the West Tamil Nadu, where Tirupur, Karur, Erode, Coimbatore, etc. are located. And many had to live in with families in junk. There were some different difficulties, but still they left, and many did not come back. And those who had stayed back also were not able to get full employment, full payment for their work. Some suffered and had to starve and continue. Then later on, it became, it came to normalcy now. But what I'm trying to say is that it is necessary that whether you belong to construction or any other sector, domestic laborers or any retail sector in which where that is not regulated, you just go and get your payment as wage, daily wage or consolidated wage, nothing else, no other social security, even for the sanitation workers also. Now, sanitation work is also in the neoliberal context continuously getting informalized because of the contract system, and totally it was completely permanent labor earlier, around some 20 years back, and the contract workers will be there only for temporary purpose of any particular work is to be. But now the reverse, it is only hardly 10 to 20%, and those who were employed there earlier are continuing as permanent workers, and all the men or women, they are only contract workers. It is because of the current policies in which you have been working. And but the problem is that, okay, even if, and particularly sanitation workers, which I did a study last year, informed that even for this contract work, there is a registration done with the employment exchange, and you have to wait. And sometimes they will be offering some 30 days, 40 days work, and you will have to wait. And of course, it was also told that it is registered only for that particular community. Why the sanitation work is again and again focusing only the particular community historically been doing that work. That's a different thing, but I'm coming to inform that most of the informal sector workers also belong to the socially, economically deprived communities, and also the vulnerabilities, experience all types of vulnerabilities associated with that socioeconomic deprivation. And so from this labor perspective, about 61% of the women workers in non-agriculture sector are working in the informal sector enterprises, as per the periodic labor force survey, the latest one, 23-24. And women's economic participation and opportunities in the global gender gap report ranked at around 142, that is out of 146 countries. India stood at 142, simply only a 4-point gap. And so it is told there in the report that India doesn't fare well in female labor force participation compared to neighbors, except Pakistan, all the other countries. I could show that figure also. So mostly the women who are helping in their families run household enterprises, or what we said, home-based enterprises, or operating small businesses, like we were talking about entrepreneurial opportunities. Mostly 90% of the women, if you take the women entrepreneurs, will be running the household enterprises or the home-based enterprises, which are micro, or even we can say now nano in scale, and very minimum investment, and mostly service sector enterprises, which in my own studies repeatedly I've conducted 4-5 studies for the past 30 years or so, in which it was very much revealing. And more than two-thirds of the working women in this informal sector are also categorized as self-employed. I was talking about even these household enterprises or home-based enterprises. See, running an eatery or running a idli shop or running a petty shop, all these will be coming. And even a vegetable vendor, whether you are on mobility, you may use, sometimes it is only head load. Most 100% of the women will be taking the vegetables on side loads and go street by street or roads and sell, but men will have that cart. And the share of rural self-employment women, as per the periodic labor survey, rose to 73.5 from 57. So this is also indicating that in the rural context, more women are coming, but urban it is very low. And based on the studies also, you can say one or two important communications that emerged from various studies. The wage differential between female and male agricultural workers are based on pre-assumed gender character. Well, the moment you see a woman, you see that she is a woman, that they don't see as laborers or workers. So, okay, women can part their labor for low wages, that kind of a perception. So employees and contractors offer simply low wages to women, regardless of their performance of the job, irrespective of whether it is agriculture sector or industry or service sector. And in the given situation of social and economic neglect, women have no better option. So on the one hand, you also have the vulnerabilities. I said there are a number of vulnerabilities which the women face in the same community, in the same context, whether it is household. Somebody is yelling. So they try to kind of face difficulties. Maybe a single woman, husband is lost, her husband would be there, the spouse would be there, not supporting the families, and he would have migrated and not able to get proper salary to part with, etc. So that is again, and some of the lands they own, they may not be able to cultivate because of the climate impact, the monsoon failure, etc. And also the women's pay is around 30% lower than that of men across all sectors, and employers divide the kind of work to be done. I have observed this in the textiles and garment sector, where the work will be all kind of work which is you are supposed to do on the machines will be allotted to men, and they hire, they get more wage than the women, and women will be taking up the packing, cutting the edges, folding the materials, etc. It doesn't command much wage. And in the South Asian context, see, compared to, I already told you, the work participation rate has been very, very low. And in India, it is 25.6%, 26%, which is just about Pakistan. So all the other South Asian countries are faring better than India. And as per the PLF survey, latest 23-24, you can see the women economic participation. So the total labor force participation is given, in that female is given in red. So it is now touched to 41%. We will discuss that also later. And there are three components of labor: self-employed and regular wage and casual labor. This self-employed, you can see the rural, urban, and overall for all the three self-employed, the labor force participation in the rural and urban are given. And you can see self-employed in rural has been very high. Like it has over these 17, now 5 years, I think, it moved from 57.7 to 73.5. This is a very startling finding as far as the latest PLF survey is concerned. And mostly when we, in the beginning itself, told all the self-employment, most of the self-employment are in the informal sector, and that is on the increase. And we have to understand why this shift from the wage employment to self-employment is happening. And the There in the West, it is because of the compatibility or flexibility, lack of flexibility, etc. They choose to part-time self-employment. That is what. But here, mostly women are in agriculture, like 71.1. In that, self-employment itself is very huge. And there is a difference in the rural-urban difference also. This urban has been always lower compared to. So we may feel that seeing a very surface level that more and more women are found there in the public space, in the urban context, and educated, and therefore it will be more. But the reality is that more rural women are employed than the urban women. And similarly, if you look into the percentage distribution of the different categories of employment with the social group, you have the major category of formal and informal. Formal is very, very minimum. The total is only 8%. So the informal is 92%. In that, you can see maximum Muslim category minority or 95% in informal sector, followed by the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. So that is, it is a known fact that they are wage earning community, CSTs. Mostly either they are self-employed or wage employed, and it's not a surprise that it is touching this. Then this is what we have already found, and there are several socio-cultural factors why this women's participation is low, and why this is very high there in agriculture sector, and why this or rural sector, and why it is more towards self-employment. These are the important factors to be discussed. So if you look into the major constituencies, one is unequal distribution of unpaid domestic care. This has been there for the past how many years we have been. And there are also a number of researches happening to account for the unpaid care and domestic work using the time use survey, etc. Even in our centers, CWD has just done this work with ILO to integrate with the labor force survey and the time use survey methods. But there are issues as to how to integrate. And and I should also underline here, this periodic labor force survey recently, both in the 22-23 and 23-24, were informing that it is on the increase. The women participation, labor force participation is on the increase. And now it has touched 41%. But if you look further deeply into that, then that is contributing, or it can be attributed to the unpaid care work that you have accounted for. We have been, the feminist researchers here, they have been making noise to integrate the unpaid care and domestic work into the national income accounting. So when it was accounted, it is not paid. That is to be underlined. It is to see that how much unpaid care work is going, though it is not accounted. So in that way, it has got inflated to 41%. The actual participation rate would be less because this unpaid care work, domestic work, is also being accounted for. It is to kind of account for, but not paid. And therefore, that is one important aspect to be kept in mind. And it is continuously, whether irrespective of the region, the unequal distribution or disproportionate proportionate distribution of unpaid domestic and care work has been on the women. And there is also, I already told, skill gap, like the priority from the private to public space. When you go to the recruitment of these skill development programs also, it is coming as patriarchal notions present everywhere. And they themselves feel that whoever, sometimes it will be the women board members also, the selection committee members or whatever. Of course, there are stipulations now. Even in this union budget, it was informed that at least 30% of the women should be selected in the schemes which are announced by the government for common. Some of the specific schemes are there for women, but I'm talking about the common scheme. So, but it doesn't work. That is one important, because we have in Tamil Nadu some schemes meant for women entrepreneurs. There is one scheme called NEETS, New Enterprise and Entrepreneurship Development, something like that. There it was introduced by the former Chief Minister Jayalalitha. She underlined that 50% should go to women. But when you meet and ask the people why you are not, they say that because it is ranging from 1 crore to 5 crore, that scheme needs scheme. So they don't really, women do not come, or women will be there in the names of others. So these things are all told. So that is one, it has to be equally skill, whatever the skill required. No, it is also against. Recently, I was there in one of the colleges for a visit, where I found that in the very big, it's a government college, very big, large board, very attractive board, where it was told that we have gone for collaboration with an public sector enterprise there for beautician training. Then other activities are all listed and they are very tiny. And I said, you can't feel happy, proud of showing this large board. You are stereotyping, and why you want to, and 60 women students are being given beautician training. What is the use of it? It is a village. And what is the use? Even if they go out and establish, hardly if 5 girls do that, it would be a real reward for that particular training. But stereotyping, this again and again in the educational institutions itself, again and again, making the women to choose to very women friendly, women supportive or whatever, this kind of. And it is also, it's not just, it is a vacation, that is a different thing you will be choosing as an enterprise, but it is reinforcing the culture about beauty, and the women should go to beauty parlor. And so why you want to, in this neoliberal context, beauty or cosmetics are being promoted like anything in the consumerist world, and therefore you don't reinforce that in the college. That's what we have. So that is what the skills must also be non-stereotypic in nature. So that is, of course, I also agree that it is all not the women are willing to. So if you offer tailoring training, 100% will give. If you offer beautician training, if you offer some value-added products of the locally available materials, they will come. And if something about food processing, they will come. But beyond that, they'll be kind of, they will have their own reservations. That is why it is not from the supply side, from the demand side also should. And then restricted access to digital literacy. That's what I was saying. Insufficient institutional support at workplaces. So many a time you choose to go, but sufficient facilities are not there, whether to connect yourself, the transport facilities, particularly when you come to rural context. And in the leadership, which I have already showed, 33% in middle management, 29 senior, 18 at the executive, and only 6% in CEOs, as per the latest data. Then share of women in higher leadership, there is a small decline in the recent, 23 you had this 36.9%, but now come down to 0.5% came down. And this is, of course, if you take this different categories of CEO executives, you see as you move on the ladder, the percentage is declining. There's a gender gap, and out of 100, only 39% are there in leadership position, but in which it is entry level, it is higher, and you move further in middle level, senior, executive level, and if it is CEO, it is only 6%. And this is for the entire globe, the 4 indicators, gender gap report, in which see the economic participation there in the global level is 60%, but now we have only 40. And that too, I already told you, because of the rural, there has been an increase. Of course, this is 23 statistics, I believe. And so there is always a gender gap between men and women on the one hand, and also the rural-urban gap also. So rural women are more, and I already told you that is in self-employed. Most of them are in self-employment, owning a small land and cultivating for self-consumption, or take up any other animal husbandry activities, or milk dairying, or poultry, whatever, goat rearing, etc. Then what are the causes? So mostly the physical and technological and social challenges hamper female labor force participation. Physical in the sense, mobility is one question. Now, we recently conducted a study on the impact of free bus scheme there in Tamil Nadu. So earlier they were not going, and now they started going from one place to other place because they can take the transport and it is free of cost. And it was also noticed that in the construction workers study, I have observed that some of them, of course, the definition itself work, if you, the current weekly status, if you work for 1 hour also, it has been included as employed. So some of the women who wanted to earn something for their particularly during school fees to be paid or college fees is to be paid, then the mother would come and take up the work, because that money will be even it was happening there in the textile and garment sector. It is not that all through the year they'll be employed, and that is because of two reasons. One is that they will be employed there in the rural area with Narega program, and of course seasonal employment will be there. So apart from that, whenever there is a lean season, they want to really come. And therefore, even among the construction sector, that workers, I noticed that some of them are only coming for a few months, and other times they will be. So the woman would be taking up different work and not coming to the folder of the formal work at all. And in a way, sometimes they'll be going and cutting the fuel wood and selling in the local market, and some will be running a small petty shop apart from this Narega participation, etc. So one is physical and technological and social challenges also, like your the dual burden. You are expected to prioritize your work for household, whether you are starving for the next time food, but still you are expected to complete all the work, and then you go to family, the employment labor market. And from perception, and also there are some 3-4 perceptions. From the perceptions of women's spaces kitchen, lack of safe transportation, and inadequate childcare facilities. So it is also safe transportation on the one hand, but at the same time, absence of transportation also hinder their participation. Then policies mandated by the Code of Social Security. Recently, we have had the labor courts all hard protested and fought, acts and all brought together into 4 courts, all 29 labor laws, including the Equal Remuneration Act, etc. So there are some provisions, and that is, of course, I should say, as the policy response, because we have been crying that there is low participation of women, and even in the formal sector, women discontinue, even including the IT sector, or after your very higher qualification of your graduation, post-graduation, further, you will go and hire out your labor there in the formal sector. But once it comes to marriage and childcare, etc., you give up for the reasons that that kind of work it required may not be allowing you, and the flexibility is lacking, and also the maternity leave, etc. So now, thanks to the state for implementing various policies, that is the paid maternity leave from 12 weeks to 26 weeks, and in Tamil Nadu it is 1 year now, and provide mandatory crush facility in establishment with more than 50 employees. This even currently I'm taking up a project on STEM, gender barriers and STEM, science, engineering, technology, and math. In that also, many institutions of institutes of national importance, they do not means they have the crush, but it is not operational. You cannot go and leave the infant there. You have to have a protective environment, and even if it is 6 months to 1 year old or further, you have to have necessary kind of play articles and other things which are sterilized, etc. So that is also a huge concern. It is not simply you provide space, but it has to be clean, and you have to have caretakers who are professionally trained, and if something happened to the child, you have to attend all those. So in very exceptional cases, it was all well equipped, but otherwise it is there, the crush facilities there with some play articles, some children playing places, etc. But it is not. Anyway, at least minimum there for the informal sector, if the Balwadis are and the ICDS centers are functioning, but still it is or not located in your neighborhood, and therefore you have to carry the child, or can't go for work leaving the child. Then permitting women workers in night shifts, that also is now, those are the DOIs as per the Factory Act 1948, it was restricted, but now it is all given the kind of new opportunities emerging. And this is about how the difference between rural, urban, male, female differences. Of course, male participation has been above 70% throughout, and even now it is 80 in rural area. But both for both for male and female, the participation for in the urban context has been lower. And so that is what. So this is because Urban areas, you registered a moderate increase from 20 to 25% over the 5 years, but the rural areas, it has been higher. I already told that there has been a shift from the wage employment to self-employment. And also accounting for unpaid work that you perform there at household context, whether it is farming or animal husbandry, whatever the other thing. And many migrants who fled cities during the pandemic did not bring back. So they stayed back because now there is a threat. Oh, if I go there, anytime such kind of disasters will come, the pandemic kind of a thing, then I have to come back. So now families, the reverse migration did not take place, and therefore they also stay back there in the rural. All these would might have contributed to the increase in the labor force participation from 24 to 41 during these 5 years. Then growing rural distress. Of course, there is, when you are not going back, you have to also get some new employment opportunities, and they are on the lookout. And thanks to all the state initiatives also, the government has been making efforts to retain this REGA scheme, and also provide skill training to make them employed with a new kind of emerging employment context. And gender gap in all forms of work persists, and that is huge for the self-employment. The male self-employment earned around 64% higher than the women, and in contrast, male regular wage workers earned 19% higher than the women, and the casual workers earned 32. So any sense of the term, that's self-employed or regular or casual workers, more wages been drawn by male than female. And in the this is again the wage gap is located, like for salary group is 19.5%, for casual it is 32, and for self-employment 64. So what are the challenges? Why the women are not more found in formal sector on the one hand, and then why there is a lack of participation of women in work? Because the workforce participation is supposed to be equal to men. At least it should be to the global average, which is talking about 60%, but it is not happening. And recently only we have realized it was for the 2.5 decades, the participation rate or female labor force participation rate was very, very lower, only 1/4, and it was swinging between 22, 23 to 27, something like that, since the new liberal policies, economic reforms policies have been introduced. And recently only, from 17, 18 onwards only, particularly 2022, 23 onwards only, there has been a small increase. And there was a projection, kind of saying that, oh, the employment of the women on the increase, and that too was happening in the rural employment, but the reasons are I have already underlined. So what are the important issues? Like lack of education is one. Continue to say that lack of education. Of course, there are some states where the gender gap between education has been already closed, almost very close. Even in higher education participation, the gender gap has been very, very limited in certain states. But in general, in all the other states, there is a gap. And there are literacy rate itself. If you take the age groups, it is still, you have illiterate population, and you have primary dropouts, primary school dropout to secondary school dropouts, etc. Then that is only for some numerical thing you will be getting that education. After that, you don't even equip yourself with any other thing, so you are not able to go to the competent jobs where some skills are required. Then insufficient skills and knowledge, exploitation of female labor, insecure jobs. These are all the very features which are preventing the women in work participation. And non-sympathetic attitude of employers. So, several times I noticed in the retail sector that if you stay for 1 hour late, then half a day will be deducted as work. And in the construction sector, that is very, very, it is ruthless, I should say, because the people I told already that they will assemble in a point, and they will be there between 7:30 and 8:30. Around 8:30, the agents and the brokers or contractors will come and recruit the women. Not only women, men, women. And there are certain obligations which will be expected by the contractor, and if you don't oblige, that is one factor, you will be withdrawn. Next day you will be sent out. And the other one, you have to be regular, and if you take frequent leave also, you won't be considered. So all these factors are there, and therefore I could see at least around 9 o'clock, there will be around 10% of the people, including both men and women, sitting back, looking for going up and returning home. Because having traveled for more than 50 kilometers, up and down 100 kilometers, they are not given work because that particular work was sufficient only for the kind of numbers they require. So these things are, that is what I mean. In many other contexts also, there's textile and garment sectors or retail sectors, there are certain stipulated rules, and if you even for traffic reason, if you are late, they don't consider you. They will say that you have to come on time. Then extreme work pressure, like it is irrespective of sector. Even in now government sector, all project based. So you will be working after the working hours also, and irregular wage payment. Even in the project and all, I have been hearing these NGOs are not able to pay even for 3 months, 4 months salary because the fund is not coming from the government projects particularly, and wage discrimination. And of course, the dual burden, which has historically been discussed. So unpaid domestic and care work cannot be understated that there are a number of initiatives, as Maria Mais underlined the fact that the care work or domestic work or unpaid household work that the women contribute serves as a huge subsidy to the corporates. That is very much true. And no company is exclusively providing wage component, additional wage component for the, because now there are government initiatives to pay, when government of Tamil Nadu pays 1,000 rupees per month to the women who are in care work. But what I say there in the industries and government, because these women's work is facilitating the men to go and work. Of course, women also go to work, but men are jolly well go because someone is taking care of everything. And therefore, there has to be a component in the salary or a wage fixation that it is for the care work. So that should go to the women, whether they are employed or not. Or sharing of the work should be there and recognition should be there. Then unpaid domestic and care work and its impact on the economy and social society is often excluded from national policy agendas also. But recently, I just told you that why this employment is on the upward movement, because of the reason that you have accounted for the unpaid care work. But unfortunately, this has to have a accountability in terms of payment also. Then time use surveys, I talked already, quantifying this work. Not to ensure payment, but to understand the contributions of the society. And the recent NFHS study also underlined that the women contribute to 18% of the GDP, which is very low. If you want to really promote gender equality, if more and more women are participating, that will boost the GDP to 30%. That is what it was told. Then the other issues like low skill set, which I already told, then traditional gender loads about double burden, and lack of access to formal credit due to. So whoever is running, I told already that more women are there in self-employment, and they will require some kind of support from the formal credit. Informal credits, credit or even these MFIs, now they charge higher interest than the formal credits available with the formal institutions, banks, etc. And where you have to give the collateral. And most of the time, whether it is the what you call that land or any plot of land, mostly it will be either joint or with the men's name. And even if it's joint, the men would have utilized already. And therefore, this is not available for them. And when women approach, thanks to the self-help group movement, etc., where you go in group and therefore bank recognizes. But if you go alone as a woman that you need, and if you happen to be a single woman, then there is always 100% neglect and exclusion. And of course, globalization and this neoliberal restructuring also rendered you to be total informalization, which I will totally. Then policies intended to protect women disincentivized women's employment. So some of them, like that is what I, again and again, people were talking about menstrual leave and other such. So whenever you are again and again going for some kind of, even if it is essential, then there is a kind of exclusion. Oh, if you employ women, they will be taking 6 months maternity leave, then who will be there to take care of the work? And if these other kind of work also, childcare leave, etc. So they are essential component which is required, and it is a social responsibility. It is not that the women do take those leaves for their personal needs, but it is actually perceived in that, and therefore that is desensitized. And in fact, in the West, thanks to, at least in India, it is not obviously explicitly shown. In the West, while in the entry point itself, there is a huge difference between male and female scale of fixation of the scale, for the reasons to account for the anticipated absenteeism due to the child care, elder care, and of course, elder care is a huge responsibility given the more aging population. At least here, you still enjoy the democratic dividend of youth, but you will also be facing soon, and Kerala is already facing that. And the Factories Act barred night shift for women. Of course, now there is a thing. And Mines Act prevent employers from making women work underground. Maternity Benefits Amendment Act 2000. So there are certain positive developments taking place, but still there are issues. Women are being forced to work to augment household income rather than fetching jobs based on their skills. See, whenever there is a desperation, then you will be asked to go to work, and you will take any work, which is, for example, I was talking about the school fees payment or college, then you will go to construction work or domestic work. And therefore, they may have a different skill, but that skill-based work may not be available. But you can look for such avenues, but it will take time for immediate needs. Then there are the causes like poverty, wage gap, depotentialization, urban migration. These are various reasons. I just quickly run through due to time constraint. And of course, this about the labor force in agriculture, I have told already, but one, I think that some of the reasons I could mention, the no land ownership, according to the agriculture census, the share of female operational holdings only 13%. Recently, there was a discussion towards farmers, women farmers policy. The farmer policy should be, agriculture policy should be women-centric. So there was also another panelist, and Jaiti Ghosh and Soma were there. And we very much underlined that the women should be recognized as farmers, and that itself is missing. And in several of my studies on this agriculture, women workers and farmers, we generally don't call them as even farmers. Establish this fact that they have been working for 90% of the work which are available, and day and night, apart from the work they do at home, but they are not recognized as farmers, except certain operations like taking to market, etc. Till packing they will be doing. Then they also characterize the small landholding. As per agriculture census 1516, close to 90% are marginal small holdings, and non-recognition as farmers, I told already. And of course, because of that, they are losing the entitlement to get the PM Kisan card, etc. And access to credit and lack of access to technology. So this I have. So feminization of informal sector, that is a major concern here. Again and again, we can say that it is male for participation is a female participation, but in certain low skill, low paid jobs, you will see either 90% of the women or 100% of the women. So informal sector without social security. That's what I found in the sanitation work also. It was originally both men and women were there, and only limited women were there, where it was permanent. Whereas now it is 90% women, only 10% men, and mostly contract work or casual work or some kind of casualties, casually kind of. So informal sector is also characterized with feminization. Agriculture sector is already a feminization of agriculture takes place because of the reason that again and again the people migrate because of the failure of monsoon and conversion of land for non-agricultural use, etc. So men no longer find profitable to engage in farming, even if they hold a small plot of land, and that won't be sufficient also. Therefore, they just leave the village. Sometimes it will be the family, entire family desert themselves to this native place and leave, and others will be. So whatever is left with, whatever operations which will be taken by the existing laborers, and mostly they are the women. And that is why feminization of agriculture also. So for the this informal sector, what kind of legal provisions are there, or at least constitutionally speaking, constitutional rights and duties enumerated in Part 3 and Part 4 of the Constitution of India are pivotal to the demand for protection of laws of women workers. So that particular Part 3, Part 4 can be implemented. It is, if it is properly implemented, then equality would be there. And there are also legislations which directly applicable for women workers, like the Maternity Benefit Act, which I was talking, and the Equal Remuneration Act also. Of course, that also now into labor codes. And labor code is completely ignoring the informal sector. Then Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, etc. And you have different other provisions also, Article 14 and 15. And also this law protects, under this law, no discrimination is permissible in recruitment and service. But whether we follow that or not, there are still advertisement coming that no men need to apply. Sorry, no women need to apply. So given all these things, there are some number of state initiatives which we need to really take stock of, because thanks to women's group and even the feminist policy collective also repeatedly hold meetings and inform. Even tomorrow we have a meeting here happening about SDGs discussion. So thanks to those initiatives of women's organizations, women's movement, and the political parties also who are concerned with workers continue to influence, and therefore you have some. And of course, there is also political reasons on which some schemes are being provided, enacted and implemented. So Mahila Kisan Sashakit Kan Pariyajan, a sub-component of Deen Dayal Antyodaya. This NRLM seeks to improve the status of women in agriculture. So there are a number of provisions, and recent budget also introduced that. And particularly recognizing the women's self-help groups to connect to microcredit. And even in Tamil Nadu, of course, the drone training and all are being given, where women are being employed to spray the fertilizers and pesticides. Not a very good idea, I can say, but still it is happening, and training women on those skills that is happening, and some of the women are also operating. Then earmarking at least 30% of the budget for women beneficiaries, or women participants rather, in all ongoing schemes and programs. That was even reinforced here in the latest budget also. Then mainstreaming of access to land for female farmers. This is a huge failure, because we never implemented this, successfully implemented the land reforms policy. Some initiatives to convert the wasteland into what you call under the wasteland development, to divide and give to the women, not only women, the landless communities, but it was also not much successful. And many of the females employed in the agriculture sector or laborers, special schemes in favor of women agriculture laborers are required. So we need to focus on skill development programs. Women workers need to be educated on their rights. That's very much. Many a time their exploitation is not viewed as exploitation when the provision is not there. Even in some of the studies, whether it is garment sector or the textile sector or the sanitation sector or even this construction, I found that many provisions are not being followed there at the workplace. Even the toilets are not being provided. But in the policy, in the guidelines, it is all given. So we have recommended that you have to provide, when you give the plan approval for construction of a building, it should also see that a toilet is first constructed, because you are hiring women workers. When you don't provide, where will they go? And they simply don't, if the public toilet is accessible, it's fine. If it is very far off, they don't go, and it's controlled. And in my study, particularly the construction workers suffer. At least other workers, five categories of workers I studied: street vendors, the domestic workers, the retail sector worker, and others such categories. But construction workers face the the worst. Then awareness among women workers about the institutional supports available. Several schemes and support system are available. There is, I was talking about registration. So where to go, what are the benefits if you register? All these are not going. And thanks to some of the organizations, civil society organizations who are working on the workers' rights, or even trade unions also, they continue to work. But even then, the reach is very, very minimum. And it is scattered and informal. If it is organized, you will find in one place and do that, but it is not. Then sexual harassment of the women workers, it's a huge issue, whether it is formal sector or informal sector. And in the construction sector, it is several times an obligation. They don't even take that as a sexual harassment. Sexual violence and sexual favors are all very much there, which was coming from the very participants. Mass media to be used to communicate provisions relating to women. See, of course, that is happening. The IEC materials are also there. But how many, I can tell my own experience where the posters on prevention of sexual harassment would be placed. In fact, we have prepared even taking our own students' pictures, they agreed to. And so what is ICC and what are the functions, where to go, what are different forms, etc., depicted in picture, and every department entrance itself, it was pasted, very visible poster. But whenever the case come, because I was as ICC chair handling those things, whenever a girl come, it will be not even coming directly to ICC. It will be going to the Vice Chancellor or what I should say, this registrar, and they will be only directing this. And when we ask, did you notice the poster? And website also do have that, but they didn't. And if it is the formal sector, the students, you're talking about ICC, but what about LCC? LCC hardly functions, or one or two cases only. And the people do not know where to go if such, and they don't take it as an issue at all. That is the other thing. And separate women grievance will be established in every organization. In case of informal sector, women to form SHGs for their protection. So many a time the SHGs are among the women workers only. So it can be a mandate to self-help group means it is not to operate with microcredit. It so happen that they just, but self-help means everything. It is very umbrella term. Then necessary amendments are required to be made in labor laws. Need for a proper regulation to ensure job security, healthy work environment, and at least minimum wages, maternity and child care benefits. We are talking about this, and there are a number of provisions. I don't say that they are not, but which sector is really implementing and taking forward these and provide these facilities? In fact, permanent sanitation workers were denied with this maternity benefits. They were not aware of that. That is the real fact. Because that is something, if you take leave for more than 1 month or 2 months, who is there to take care of? Because it's a very important, essential work to keep the city clean. And therefore, it is not taken to commissioner's knowledge, but the other second and third level staff, they don't encourage them to go for 3 months on those days. Now it is there. So the women were saying that we never had 3 months maternity leave and all. We will be having, and that too, they will be providing some of their relatives to go and attend that work. And this I already told you, and budget provisions are there, and Pragati to provide encouragement and support to girl children to pursue technical education. STEP program is there. Suganya Samriti, the girl child under the Beti Bachao Beti, the scheme is also there. And women in priority sector lending targets there. These are all there. Again, I can go on the kind of policy measures and interventions, programs, etc. Whether it is actually going to reach the deserving, that is the problem. Then the Ujjwala Yojana to provide LPG connections, and also Swadhar scheme to other short stay home, crisis center, etc., to facilitate the people who are affected by the any form of violence, etc. And I should also, because now it is the present context, so I thought I could also just spend a few minutes on this gig economy. So informalization is the characteristics of women work here, irrespective of whether men and women. Informal sector is the huge sector which is capturing after this reforms policies, and also moving towards contract and casual workers, putting out system, self-employment, etc. It is mostly informal sector. That is why 90 plus workers are in percentage of workers are in informal sector. So gig economy is the least, or platform economy, whatever you call. This is again contributing to, it is not formal. It is mostly self-employment, or you work for certain hours and you will be paid for that. And there are a number of companies, urban companies, one which offers, and you have this Ola, Uber, etc. And women are found in some certain services. In certain areas, you can also see Uber, Ola, that transport services, but it is mostly in the services related to health services or beauty services, etc. So, and of course, IT related workers, that is hugely. So in this, of course, this gig economy offers many possibilities to facilitate the movement of more women into workforce. So now, even I have had a brief discussion, with a very brief number, had a discussion with us to how they feel that this particular area is really helpful. Then they said, oh, yeah, if it is, they run either their own enterprise or work in other company or so, the flexibility won't be there. So now it is open whenever they want, they can have, and if they have to go to attend the child, go to hospital or leave there in the school, that particular time they can lock. And whenever it is needed, they will open. And the investment wise also, it is not much required. Only thing, their customer satisfaction, they have to deliver the services and they get satisfaction. And the companies are offering the training and also certain minimum investment to buy the equipments, whichever service they are in, if it is required. And then that is also collected in installment, taking from their earnings. And therefore, they feel that this has flexibility, and also ensuring the supply, like you services, like 1 or 2 or 3 sittings will sufficiently bring you the earnings. Otherwise, you will go and earn as wage or salary. Then the flexibility offered on the gig platforms allows female workers to manage unpaid care, and that's what I said. Still, data shows that labor force participation rate has decreased over the last decades in the gig sector also. So that is we need to, whether it is the kind of issues they face, they are not able to, or women who worked, got married and discontinued the work, we have to go further. But the database is a big issue. I wanted to conduct the study this year, but I was not able to because accessing data is a huge issue. And then because gig work was witnessed similar gender division, like that is also equally, like I was talking about the transport. You can see every now and then the male drivers only. It's very difficult to see the women. So the traditional gender division of labor continue to be prevailing there in the gig sector, F sector also. Then unequal access to digital technology is a significant hurdle to women's participation. Yeah, this is digital divide is always there. And we have witnessed that in the COVID context, if you have one instrument, who will have that instrument and who will attend the classes online and who is not. And so in this also, internet users are only 16%. So what has to be done? So in this sector, you have to work to bridge that gender digital divide. That will help you to equip the women to gain digital literacy and operate. And then online in-house transparent dispute redressal system by the platform, because when they face any, because when the company sends them, they will monitor definitely for their safety. But if you are going there and you have been booked, a woman's name, it should have been booked. But when you go there, only male are there, means how secure you would be, safe you would be. So that is what it is, online in-house transparent mechanism, where women employees could complain if there is any problem emerging during the service. Then mandatory coverage of platform workers under the scheme such as Pradhan Mantri. I think now recently in the budget also it was introduced that they will be given ID cards and recognized. But it is at the same time, it was suggested that they have to be recognized as workers, and associated social security should be provided. Then regular audit of AI-based apps to remove any unintended bias against women. So now we are in the era of AI that will further implicate on the work participation rate, and particularly the women. And therefore, that also should be taken care of, to have a kind of an audit periodically to be done to understand what is happening, how to protect women from those issues, so that more women could participate. So with this, I'll stop, and I think you will now can open it for discussion.
Thank you, ma'am. We sincerely appreciate your enlightening session, and your comprehensive discussion has provided invaluable perspective on the barriers they navigate and the pathways to ensuring better protection, fair wages, and improved working conditions for women in informal economy. I would like to invite Professor Vibhuti Patel ji and Professor M. Indira ji to share the reflections.
Yeah, Professor Indira ji, you can go ahead. I will be later on summing up.
Yeah. Thanks, Professor Mani.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you. Yeah, you have given a very comprehensive outlook about women in informal sector, and also generally about women and what type of policy requirements are needed and what is the existing situation, both from the support from the secondary data and also from your experiences through your research work. There are several efforts are being made to reach the informal sector. But even within formal sector also, there are discriminations, and many places there is a gap between the policy and its implementation. And it is much more in the case of informal sector. So I want your reflections on the is it good for women? Is it good to encourage more participation of women in gig economy? Because as you are talking about in the last part of your proposal, because earlier in my lecture also I was talking about some women referred. I mean, in about I think it is one of the studies on public sector companies. So what came out clearly is women are ready to work, but they lack skills. So, and by providing skills, do you think that it is important, or it is going to be useful for the women to participate in gig economy? Do you see some kind of, setbacks if we encourage more women in gig economy?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Yeah, it is a relevant question in this context where more women are joining the gig economy.
Mani, just adjust your
screen.
laptop. That is good.
Okay.
No, little.
Okay.
Yeah, that is good.
I just moved. Okay, so it was it is very much I am for saying that given the correct protection for the women, it is more women can be there in the gig economy for the reasons, because I have had primary information from the participants, and also there are studies informing that there are issues. I don't say that they are free from any issues, but at the same time, it gives the flexibility, which is one of the reasons why the female work participation rate is lower in other sectors, because of the kind of demand there at the context, both the dual burden we kept on saying. So this really provides them the flexibility. So in that context, and of course, it was again told by the people that payment-wise, it is all now connected online, and there is no cheating. Cheating in the sense, if it is, they are going and the customer will be paying, and some amount will go to the company, the other directly be paid to this. Or even if it is paid directly to the office, company, it will be coming to their account. And third one is about the flexible, and the investment. That is very important as far as women are concerned. I kept saying that whether it is in the agriculture sector or other sector, bringing the investment to their enterprise is a huge challenge. And there are also kind of lack of confidence. It is not like we discussed in the other session about women entrepreneurship. I know I've been working with women entrepreneurs for the past 30 years or so. And it has been telling, quote unquote, that there is a lack of confidence to go for huge credit from the bank also, unlike men. And therefore, these women also, they said, like, if you want to establish a beauty center or a massage center, whatever, it requires around 5 lakhs minimum to 6 lakhs. And if you go here, it is like within 50,000, they will provide the equipments and you have to attend the service only. So it is a kind of service providers, and we are happy. That is one example I'm saying. So in that way, gig economy with the ifs and buts can be encouraged. And whatever the kind of issues being faced, because it is expanding, the state should also, the government should also pay attention to
But
kind of
like any other
rectify.
transformation, like any other such kind of
Yeah.
big leaps, only the urban and peri-urban women will
Yeah.
be able to
That
gain
I
from this.
totally
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't reach the women in rural at
In
all.
a very
You're talking about rural
areas.
employment, and there they are towards self-employment. But the nature of rural women employed will be different. You're taking the skill training, etc. And I have been observing again, this is very stereotypical in nature. They will all be given, hundreds of them, on tailoring and other such not very attractive training to use their skills. So in that way, I agree that rural women, if they are interested, they can also be brought into this gig economy, the platform economy.
Yes. Vibhuti, if there is anything, I'll intervene later, but Vibhuti,
thank you, Professor Manimekalai, for such a exhaustive presentation about informal sector, which is for a country like India. It's a very huge and varied, and sectoral variations are also very high. But you have taken given a eagle's eye view of the informal sector and women's predicament. I wanted to know that what can we do to change the mindset of the industry leaders and trade leaders? No, how can we reach out to FICCI and Confederation of Corporate Indian Industry, CII, AIIA, and even the cooperatives? Imagine whatever is happening, like always cooperative sector has been lauded, and in Maharashtra always they were lionized, the sugar cooperatives and all. And here you see the gross violation where women sugarcane workers, they are hysterectomized, or they had to work for even after 12 hours of work, they are not getting equal wages. How can we change the mindset of employers?
I fully agree with at least the sectors in which I have been associated with, mostly the sector, this one, textile and garment sectors. We have a union there, exclusively working for women workers. So it was reported, I don't know whether you read in the paper, that the companies are using some pills there in the drinking water to reduce their menstrual bleeding, so that they will report to work easily. And also, it was not proved, but it was told that infertility is on the increase because those who are working, the working conditions.
But there are also reports in the People's Court in Bangalore, women garment workers, they also reported that they were given emergency contraception to maintain the diet, to postpone their menstruation.
So expecting the industrial leaders, whether of course FICCI or CII and these cooperatives, they should have the role. And even you are being bought, these trade unions which are working there, they're also being bought by these corporates, and therefore they are not even able to really deliver what is required for the welfare of the workers. So on the one hand, unemployment, I didn't talk much about here. Unemployment is on the increase, and the women and girls and of course men are also forced to take up some work. And if that work, because agriculture is total failure in certain regions, and therefore they are being observed in these corporates, and therefore their priority, even I observed this in the construction sector. When I was asking, why don't you ask for the toilet, which is a very essential, they said, madam, getting work every day is a challenge. Where is the question of asking for that right? So they are pulled down to kind of not to ask for their rights, rather contribute, and it has to go. For example, in this garment and textile, the target is that you have to submit whatever the order they have received. They have to supply that on time. And if there is any delay, then there will be a delay forever and they will last. Therefore, they will go to the extent of exploiting the additional hours of work, etc., foregoing their rights also. So, because some context, because of the competition, the girls coming, I'm talking about textile sector, coming and they leave in between. Now, the companies have gone for some other schemes like making them to continue their distance education, provide them some entertainment facilities in their place of stay if it is residential workers. So all these things, some facilitation is being done, that too with a limited number of corporates who have some sense of welfare and facilitation to be done. But if it is through CII, FICCI, it will be good.
Yeah, no, highly organized. I read somewhere about the company that is supplying, parts to the Apple industry.
Mm.
So there also, I believe it's somewhere in Sri Perambur or someplace in Tamil Nadu. Though they have vehemently refuted, they were not taking married girls because they don't remove their mangalya, they don't remove their bangles. Such to that extent, company supplying to Apple. Yeah. I read somewhere in Reuters report it is mentioned, though completely refuted.
And multinational corporations, transnational corporations wash off their hands. They said, oh, we believe in human rights, but it is the subcontractor who are doing all this. So passing on the buck, because they won't treat their children in their workers in the industrialized world like this, no? But it happens in Africa, Latin America, and Asian countries.
Yeah.
So the floor is now open for questions from the participants. You can raise hand or type in the Q&A box.
I'll even ask questions.
Akansha ji, please go ahead.
Good evening, ma'am. You mentioned about double chores that women do, like double. One is house chores, and then another is employment work. So, ma'am, rest of the reasons that you mentioned mostly fall under institutional barriers or the societal barriers. But this, the double work that you mentioned, is it more of a societal barrier or a personal barrier? Because what have you observed in your research, that what is stopping women from saying that we are not ready to take this double work, and what is forcing men to not take up share that load? So, ma'am, can you elaborate on this? And is this more of a societal barrier or a personal barrier? Do women lack emotional empowerment here? Thank you.
Yes. I very much agree with you. It is a social barrier. It's not a personal barrier, but it is perceived so by the society that it is a personal. That's what I repeatedly underlined. Even the maternity leave or other, if you take care of the child or whatever, you go on leave, that is taken as the personal need only. It is not taken as a social need. For the social need, they are going. So 2-3 things you asked. One is, of course, it is a societal barrier. It is also positive. If you take family as an institution, that is also an institutional barrier where the society has been reinforcing again and again that the care work, or you have that gender division. So men are the breadwinner, women are the caregivers. That equation continue to go even if you are the top leader in a big company or an agricultural worker, whoever it may be. And the second component, of course, which it is realized in certain areas, of course, in the young educated group, at least men are also sharing their work and facilitating the women. And in the rural context also, we have been observing right from the beginning that the women will continue to share the work. But at the end of the day, when it comes to crucial care or important aspects, then the women only will be asked to attend, whether it is cattle population care or bringing fodder or child taking to the hospital, etc. And it is happening to formal sector also. When child is ill, the mother will be required to father. If it is a grown-up child, father can also, but still it is expected. And that is again not a personal requirement. And the third, of course, it is that the sharing is not taking place in all the context, and therefore the women also, I already told that they perceive that it is both the members are 2 members are there. If one is not, then it is my responsibility, quote unquote. They feel that it is women's responsibility to deliver those aspects, whatever the domestic care work or child care work or all farm related care work, whatever. They feel that, okay, it is my responsibility. So highly sense in that, again, can I say insensitivity or sensitivity? They feel that it is my work. I have to deliver this. I don't expect, I don't have anything about, I can't even talk about the rights, women's rights there. They feel that it is, see, recently I was there in Itanagar, where the property rights question is it's a customary law very much plays the role, not the written laws. The women heads of that panchayat, etc., also very much on the view that how can women be given? See, let it be with men. When they want, what is the problem for you? That is what the perception is. So this is happening in other parts of the country also, at least in the context of delivering the household responsibilities, household chores. So it needs, I see a change happening among the educated young population. So that will take to certain extent change in the next years to next generation to come. I see so. And maybe slowly it will be spreading to the mainstream population. So we have to demonstrate. Every individual has to demonstrate so that, and it has to be started there at home so that the child will also be learning, oh, this, there should not be any gender division of work at the private spaces, household work, and that will be extended to your public space also, where men and women, there again, even in the university system, if there is any common, particularly convocation used to be the common, every faculty will be involved. So you will see the divide. The women will be given women faculty to be in charge of seating arrangement, to food distribution, etc., and accompanying the guest and all such strategically important work will be with the men faculty. So this starts right from the home. So charity should begin at home, where men and women shouldn't continue to see that this is men's work and this is women's work. And if that change occurs, then definitely, but it will take long time. It is happening minimum. It will take time to change. Yeah, someone else is raising their hand. Yes.
Any other questions?
There are no, it's not a question. It is just I want to supplement and also answer to some of the parts. See, what I have been listening to all the lectures. So what I feel is, we have n number of laws, rules, regulations, and policies, but their implementation, I feel that more effort should be made towards the proper implementation of these role, the policies. What is your comment? Money, what I feel is that we have a number of laws and policies, but their proper implementation, and also if they are not complied, what kind of, I don't put the harsh word of punishment.
Penalty.
If such kind of things are there, so if it is made mandatory and if they are not implemented, some audit as you are talking about, I think those things will be, we have enough number of laws and rules.
That is a huge issue, Professor Indra. That is the cause of concern. That always we see, say legal provision should be there. But when the legal provision or any other provision is there, whether they are using that provision, that is the problem. So that is why there is a statement, I think even the UN secretary was saying that legal provisions alone will not help to ensure gender equality. So whether it is our own women-specific legislations or workplace legislations, or even I was talking about maternity leave to be given. So the right that they have to, but it was not implemented. See, that was decided by the people who were in the second and third level, and it was not taken to the knowledge of the higher official at all. But at the same time, I can tell when I was there, delivered the child, my HOD offered me to just come and handle the class and go so that the breastfeeding could be continued. Of course, for travel itself, it will be half a day, but still I was given that. So it was not that every time that the one hand the legislation is there. On the other hand, the people also should be sensitive enough to implement the laws or enact your own provisions, like the one I was talking about. So the certain time, sometimes that's my maternity, one example I was telling. But there are, in the workers' context, there are a number of laws. If you provide a residential apartment for residential labor, there are strictly certain aspects to be followed, but you are not. Only this ventilation that should be there, only this many people can be there in the room. That were all violated, grossly violated, and they suffer with suffocation. So there is, and you also know the other side of the coin, like people who are in the committees who come in to inspection. And they are also very kind of corruptive nowadays. We read about
Yes.
NAC also recently. So that is the kind of a thing. Like when you are welfare committee, workers welfare committee or inspection committee, whatever, the committee also are being bribed. And so that side of the thing is being closed. Child labor is one
Yes.
thing. No, you are not supposed to employ child laborers. But I could see many child laborers are being employed there in several corporates. But it is hidden, it won't be, you will inflate. When I was telling it to the labor commissioner that many child laborers are employed, because I could witness they are very small kids. And just because this poverty, my sister who is 14-year, 15-year-old have joined. But this girl also who is just completed 10-year, 5th class, she also found there in the labor market. Then when I represented, the commissioner was simply asking me, Madam, you provide, please. They make the certificates inflating their age to 18 or 16 as apprentices. There is no evidence to actually, even if you go and see, they will show the certificate. So there is, on the one
Correct.
hand, the supply side also, they are making the issues and demand side also. So both the corporates as well as the individual, and of course the vulnerability because of the poverty, they are coming. And that is the thin line between you violate the law because of the necessity, essentiality of that particular or vulnerability of that particular section who wants, and that is happening to other sectors of employment also.
Yes.
Priyanka Patel, you can please go ahead with the question.
It was an insightful session. And I have two questions. One question is, as you mentioned earlier, unequal access to digital technology remains a major barrier to a woman's participation in a gig work. In this context, how effective can an online and in-house and transparent dispute redressal system by platforms be in addressing workplace grievances and ensuring fair treatment for women works?
Yeah, what I said was like, yes, see, these women who are already there on the gig economy or platform economy are informed. That is why they are operating with that apps and they are quite connected. But I'm talking about or you are asking about the other section who are not being covered at all. So their intensive training, capturing their interest, like at least if I'm school completed or graduate, I should be introduced to all the skills to be to handle there in the digital site. But I'm not. I should make myself technologically savvy so that any issues appear there on the digital world will be tackled. But there is a huge gap. It is not possible for every woman workers, leave alone the informal sector where mostly agriculture workers, etc. But even in the informal sector where they are in the urban sector or particularly operating with the IT and other things, they are not, they are working there, but still the safety mechanisms, etc. are not in place. So that is what particularly the gig economy context I was suggesting, that it has to be like I am going there to deliver this, and that is a particular place, my client will be there, I will be going and delivering the services. In delivering even this delivery, you would have read, no, this food delivery. So there were some kind of issues when the girl was delivering, it was misused, etc. So that is what I meant to say in that context, that it has to be connected. The moment something, you have to operate that, it will be informed to that particular company, they will immediately take action. There are, of course, police apps, etc. That is second thing. But this is being monitored. The company which is sending you to that to attend that client for any service for that matter will be monitoring. So in that way, when anything happens, immediately it should be connected, informed if you are connected only. So that is why the kind of digital connection, in-house connection should be there, and you have to get trained on that. It is not that just you have that.
Trackers,
you have to also get trained.
They use trackers also, no?
Yeah, trackers also. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, thank you. And can I ask another question?
Yeah.
So this question is from formal sector, women's in formal sector. So I have observed, despite legal protection, women in the formal sector, including those in leadership role, continue to face workplace harassment and institutional barriers. So how can policies be strengthened to ensure gender-sensitive governance and strict accountability mechanism, along with effective redressal system to create a truly safe and equitable work environment?
Yes, this is a $1 million question. And as Professor Indira asked, there are a number of legal provisions available. And you're referring to the top women who are in the helm of affairs. They also face difficulties, harassment, and indirectly being in terms of denial of promotions and other such issues. You will be harassed in that context also. So in I was talking about my current project on STEM. There also it had come very well. It was revealed in many contexts. We are thinking that we are talking, last time I did that study on the sanitation workers, which is the other extreme vulnerability. But here you may be, just, they are all in the university and that too institute of national importance, they won't face any problem. But they did inform, not about the sexual harassment. That is, of course, I don't know, the people whom we met might not have had, but other kind of harassment in terms of foregoing their promotions, in terms of not being represented in the committees, and other such exclusion from the administration. So most of the responsibilities which will gain power to particular member will go to men, and sending for visits abroad or something like that mostly. It is, at least I'm saying there are exceptions. I don't generalize it. Maybe for 10% it may not be, but for 90% it is seen that the women cannot deliver. Even if you prove yourself excel in that field, still there are issues. And as an outcome or kind of the patriarchal notion, and of course a capitalist perspective in which you deal things, combine its impact in further kind of any achievement that a woman make will always be attributed something associating that, damaging the character, etc. So that kind of, it is not actually harassment directly, sexual harassment, but even telling you and labeling you your character assassination, etc. For no reason also amounts to. So in this context, it is the mindset, change of mindset and the qualitative change in the workspace only, and you, as you said, the sensitivity, gender sensitivity alone will help rather than the policies. Policies will be there. I have observed several such issues with the sexual harassment cases reported. They would try to cover up. Even the entire institution will help that particular person to cover up, saying that it was not intentional. It was, he said so in a different intention. She took it in that. So all these will come to cover up because it will have an implication on his career. And therefore, of course, there are cases where it is being misused that I'm not going into. It's a minimum. But 90% of the cases also do not really use the entire policy provisions. You may give, the committee may suggest the transfer or suspensions. Many a time it may not be implemented by the head of the institution.
Not implemented by the authorities.
Close to that person, or they will also try to protect the men. That is very subtle. It won't be visible, but it is very subtle. And at the same time, not supporting the women also is subtle. It won't be visible. They will say, oh, you are being given. And now you are asking this, why? So that is what it is. So policies alone cannot help. Again, I underline, there should be sensitivity.
Also collective pressure. No, currently currently all these onslaughts are happening, and whatever we have gained is also getting wiped
Yeah,
out
that is
because
that's a backlash.
because of the atomization, because we were collective, we could win. Because even when that woman was given in LIC officer, was given termination order by her boss.
Yes.
Unmarried, and we immediately approached Madam Margaret Alva, who was a member of parliament, and she was HRD minister. But it was collectively, the voice was raised by women's movement. And then the new rule came that no boss has a right to ask whether she's a married or not. Maternity leave is a maternity leave. She has a child, whether she has adopted or delivered or within marriage or outside marriage, nobody has asked. So that could happen because there was a collective voice. So now currently what happens?
Yeah, that is important.
Women are individually these things. Very easy to witch hunt them and silence them, no?
Yes.
That is
yeah.
Collective voices is very, very important.
Yeah.
Very important.
Formal or informal.
Yeah, and that was the strength of Me Too movement. That it's not only one movement. So
Yeah,
many women
but
collectively
now
said
you know
that
how
this all happened
movements
to
are
them.
how movements are diluted, and there is identity-based movements, which is really diluting the original agenda of movements. Whether it is for the women's movement or any gender movement. That is a state of affair, unfortunately.
Correct. There are two, correct. Sakshi Patil, would you like to go? Would you like to ask a question? Yeah, please start.
Yes, ma'am. Women construction workers in India frequently lack proper safety equipment. Also, there is no guarantee of insurances or any safety measures around women. So, what steps can be taken to enforce laws to provide a safer environment for them?
Yeah, I did mention there in my discussion itself, saying that there are provisions for covering the unorganized sector laborers and for the insurance. Of course, recent initiatives also were there, and state-wise there are even more laws to cover them into health insurance, to accident insurance, and also any other needs that is occurring there at the workplace. Of course, the employer should also be responsible to compensate for. That is one thing. And of course, you're talking about, one was the insurance. What about the other one? One more you were asking?
Facilities in workplace.
Safety.
Yeah, safety.
Safe environment.
Yeah. Safe environment. It will all be in the paper, but how it is actually, how safe you are there. Because I closely worked with construction workers. So there were issues that they reported, that right from the mason to the supervisor to the contractor, sexual demands and sexual favors are common. And it is unwritten law there in the construction sector that they have to oblige to that. So that it was, at least I have drawn this from my
same
own.
in Bombay.
Yeah, that is what.
Same in Bombay, we have a Naka workers. So at every public places, the workers, they stand in the morning, near the railway station, near the bus stop, near the, and they would pick up men for a mason or a carpenter or this thing. Women would not be picked up till the end. And then the same people would say, Ati kya? Do you want to come? And they would wink. That means we are ready to give you sex work, but not the work of construction. So that is what has been
even
reported
regular
by
work itself is a problem. So I told you, that they will be there and they will be waiting, and anytime you will be sent out. So it's no regular
I think
work.
it is a vicious circle, like if the employer or the contractor is made responsible for the social security payment and providing proper facilities, he will increase the price of his construction charges. So then, it will escalate.
And demand all the favors.
And implementation, like in Western world, even if you employ your servant maid, officially, if you employ a servant maid, you have to pay social security, whatever it is. So, informally, they will employ. Sometimes they come and work for 1 hour, 2 hours. So, such kind of policies to make it mandatory for the employer to pay the social security and provide the minimum facilities like toilet facilities and creche. So, he will increase his this one
Yeah,
charges.
charges towards that. Yes.
And that becomes a real problem. Yeah. It's a very vicious circle.
But I think
So
safety
policies
can be
alone,
issue.
policies are there, guidelines are there, Sakshi, but in implementing and also applying this in the total spirit and requirements.
It's not that nothing is
really
happening. Some places it is happening.
Yeah.
Certainly, like, just because it is.
There are certain.
Yeah.
And there is a complete detachment between the employer and employee. That owner will be different, particularly in the garment sector and all. They don't even
that
see
we
the
saw during
contractor is the
pandemic
one
also,
who
no?
is-
Why
Yeah.
3 crore worker had to walk back?
Yeah. And I feel that
we
whether
saw
they are,
during the pandemic, no?
yeah,
Particularly.
whether these provisions are implemented or not right now, but if they are legalized, you have a right to ask. At least that much is ensured. Whether this minute if they are implemented or not, but you have a right to ask. So collectively you can ask for that. That is why we need legislation.
Safety can come only through collective effort.
Yeah,
Even in
only-
sexual
Yeah,
harassment
that is the
cases,
underlying principle.
wherever the victim is this thing isolated, even the internal committees also, they go by all the stereotypes and the this thing, no, the rumors against that person. Only when they get support from other women,
backup is from
that
collective.
is the time even the I see internal committee gets galvanized into action and gives her justice. No, so I think there is a strength in unity, and that's the only thing. Numbers do matter.
Yeah, in several cases it has been shown that we know that when they come together, it is possible.
Yeah. And that also pressurizes the internal committee to act fast and this, no, that I have seen
Exactly.
even while sitting on all
At least
these
that pressure should be there.
Yeah, I
Collective
know.
pressure.
ICC we have seen in several places. Yeah.
Correct. The last question by Mahera Imam, would you like to go ahead? Mahera, can you unmute? Yeah. Mahera ji, are you there? Mahera Imam.
Mahira is my student and she has been attending the regular programs, registering for this IMPRI program.
Yeah. So Riya ji, you can read.
Yes, Mahira.
Mahira is. She's unable to unmute her. She has written in the chat box. And the question also.
What is it?
She has written.
Ma'am,
Could you elaborate more on
platform economy
and gender-based violence faced by the women? Yeah, literature informed. She's working on cybercrime and she would have written, read the literature. So IWH did a study and also some studies, even IHT, I believe. And we are also now doing. So it was informed that they, in terms of one, I was talking about the while delivery, when there is no woman, if it is there are men, then likelihood of being abused, that there were cases reported in that food delivery industry. And in the other centers, like I was talking about healthcare providers or any such service providers in other such context also, it was reported, and it was reported in the literature also that there has been issues met kind of violence, in the sense sexual violence being faced by the people when they delivered, and they had to register a case and then it was attended. Of course, the company which is employing them definitely be proactive, but at the same time, it is a risk-bearing area, risky area, in which the women are, one reason why they withdraw or they don't come forward also is one, and family members may not be permitting them. And the other component is, of course, you are connected online, and you all know about online harassment, online abuse, and threat, etc. So that also, the sexual favors or obscene messages, pornography, all these, So that also were reported. So that they are very much available in the literature. So that is one of the reasons why more and more women are not joining the platform economy. They are still feeling that it is not safe.
Yeah. safe cyber.
Are there any other questions from the participants? So, there are no other questions, and thank you, Manimekalai ma'am, for taking the time to answer all the questions with such great detail, and with so much patience. And we hope to have you again at IMPRI's future programs.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I once again thank Professor Vibhuti and the team for this opportunity, and also the participants who could be very interactive in their questions. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you, Professor Indra.
Thank
Nice
you,
to meet you
Mani.
all.
Yeah,
My
thank you,
gosh.
Mani. I'll call you sometime.
Yeah. Her being co-chair is such a help, no? Both of us can really enrich the discussion.
I think this is you have introduced
enrich.
in this program. Yeah, good.
Yeah, it enriches the discourse.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Vibhuti. See you then.
Yeah. Thank you. See you. Bye.
I now invite Professor Vibhuti Patelji, chair of this program, to deliver the closing remarks for today's session. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, I think today we had a very rich discussion and very rigorous discussion based on data and primary level data and the first-hand experiences by two stalwarts in the field, Professor Samapti Guha, who focused on entrepreneurship and the corporate world, and Professor Manimekalai. She touched upon all sectors of the economy and all layers of women workers, employees, and managers in the Indian economy, and she gave also global comparison. What emerges, and even the interventions and responses by Professor Indira, that also brought out that it is the collective, coordinated, and bold action at the local level by the state and non-state actors, private and public sector enterprises, which can accelerate participation and empowerment of women in enterprises and labor markets. Proactive efforts towards gender parity with the help of legislations, quotas, policies are need of an hour, and gender stereotypes need to be challenged, and women entrepreneurs, women workers do not face any hurdle. We have to see to it that they don't feel any hurdles of glass ceiling and glass walls, which women entrepreneurs and women managers and in the corporate ladder they are facing. It's not only the glass ceilings that limits women's career progress. The imbalance in the profession and glass ceilings encountered by women in highly professional sectors such as doctors, lawyers, engineers, scientists, business executives, chartered accountants, board members, elected government representatives in a political structures, and also administration. I think that is a very important contemporary reality, and on which Madam Claudia Golden worked, and she was given for her 200 years of research, she got the Nobel Prize in Economics for the year 2023. The terms glass walls and glass elevators refer to institutional barriers that isolate women employees, generally the women who have been women from the socio-economic and cultural location, for example, colored women or Dalit women, Adivasi women, ethnic minorities, religious minorities. They are stuck into jobs that don't lead to executive advancement or promotion within whichever field they are, whether it's a business or enterprise or government job. Unlike glass ceilings, which refers to obstacles that block an individual's advancement beyond certain level, glass walls and elevators, they create, they make you stuck in that particular domain. You can't progress and get out of that domain, no? Glass floors represent invisible barriers limiting the entry of man into traditional occupations of women, such as secretaries, receptionists, nurses, teaching assistants, administrative assistants, nursery school teachers, the healthcare workers, domestic healthcare workers, domestic workers, elderly care providers, or even cleaners in the motels or hotels. No, so not allowing man to enter that field, and you could see that as a result of which worldwide women account for 83% of domestic workers, and within a high 93% also in Latin America. Similarly, women account for approximately 95% of all pre-primary school teachers all over the world, even in the Scandinavian countries, ranging from a low of nearly 80% in Africa to 96% in Europe. So you can say the lowest percentage is in Africa, where there also 80% of pre-primary school teachers are women. And in Europe, 96% of pre-primary school teachers are women. These hurdles actually limit the entry and mobility of both women and men in predominantly gender-defined role. And if women are to achieve gender equality in our economy and society, then it is very important that we need to get out of this gender stereotypes and gender-based division of labor. Manimekalai and Dr. Samapti Guha brought out succinctly through their evidence-based researches. Sticky floor phenomena is also about which also a lot of discussion is going on, that it makes informal sector women, workers who are like 94% of workforce in our economy, remain overworked, undervalued, and also stuck at the bottom of the pyramid. Now, we need to change this scenario by the top-down approach. As Dr. Manimekalai says, some employers are ready to listen. Then the lateral approach, that is women and their colleagues, they need to fight for equality. And bottom-up approach, creating pressure through self-help groups, not only self-help groups, not in the context of microfinance, but self-help groups to fight for your rights and whatever is there in the protective labor legislation to get it implemented, and also to by the policies and also unions, associations, cooperatives, collective endeavor, they are also required. So at all three lay bottom up, top down, and lateral interventions are required to change this scenario, because patriarchal value system has existed for more than 5,000 years, and the efforts to challenge such discrimination has history of only 200 years. So it is a very important. Yes, we are swimming against the stream, and that's why we need to strengthen each other. There is a strength in unity. So I think that is the message of today's lecture, that we need to create new kind of a mindset through our research, through our advocacy, through legislation, through policy, and most important of all, through collective effort. Thank you.
I sincerely thank Professor Vibhuti Patel ji for her closing remarks, which provided deep insights in today's discussion and emphasized the vital role of addressing challenges and advancing solutions to enhance women's working conditions. This concludes the day 6 of the Young Women Leaders in Public Policy.
Day 7.
Day 7, yes, ma'am. So, day 7 of the Young Women Leaders in Public Policy Fellowship, Cohort 2.0. So, as we come to the end of day 7 of Young Women Leaders in Public Policy Fellowship Cohort 2.0, an online national winter school program, a 4-month online immersive introductory leadership certificate training fellowship program, Indira Rawat, researcher at IMPRI, Impact and Policy Research Institute, would like to propose the formal vote of thanks on behalf of IMPRI Gender Impact Study Center, New Delhi. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed expert for day 7, Professor Dr. Samapti Guha ji, and Indira ma'am, and Vibhuti ma'am, and Manimekalai ma'am, for their for generally sharing their time and expertise, and their insightful contributions have interest in online certificate program, offering participants a deeper understanding of the subject. We thank all our participants who have raised pertinent questions and actively participated in today's deliberation. Readings for the sessions will be shared in your email, and a video of the session will also be shared with you for learning. We eagerly await your presence in the upcoming sessions scheduled every Sunday, and for the special session on March 8th, International Women's Day. We are grateful if you are watching us later on YouTube, listening to us on a various podcasts, or reading our publications. We hope you continue to join in future IMPRI Web Policy Talk and Web Policy Learning programs. Wish you a very good evening. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Priya Rawat, for moderating the session, and Professor Indira for enriching the discourse. Thank you. And thank you, participants, for such engaging sessions. You also made it by asking such sharp questions and remaining with us till the end.